Submit to the High Council. Folks, we are back. I'm your host, Jeff of World Class Bullshitters, and with me, as always, is Mecha Random 42.
Hello.
Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Hail the Fandom Menace.
And a big guest this evening. We are joined by our friend, Literature Devil. How are you doing tonight?
Hello. I'm doing fantastic. Hope everyone else in the chat is too.
I'd like to think they are. They're here. This is the first podcast or the live show of the Fandom Menace. We're alive and kicking ass in the time of Corona. So, folks out there in the chat, hail the chat, and thank you for joining us tonight. We got a big show in place for you. This is, I guess, the first show since the decline of the comic book industry, with pencils down and all of that stuff. So we're going to be talking about that. Gotham High, what the hell is that? All sorts of things tonight on the High Council. And guess what? Even a little bit of Star Wars, because guess what? A comic book writer, a somehow famous one, is attacking Star Wars, and that's what we're going to start tonight's show with. But before we do, anything crazy happened since we've last met, guys? Tom, Mecha, Literature Devil, even though we've never met, anything crazy happened in the last week?
So much stuff has happened out there in the world anyway. So much. I think we're going to cover a lot of it today, in fact.
Indeed we are.
But the one thing that really happened, that I really have been enjoying endlessly, is what you mentioned earlier, was pencils down. I love that stuff. It's been very, very cathartic and very, very thirst quenching, we'll say.
I'm trying to do a little catch up on it because I saw the Ethan stream, at least part of it, and I've seen the tweets, and Bounding into Comics been covering it quite a bit. But I'm in a weird place with you. I'm a comic book fan, like to make my own stuff, and there are a lot of really great people out there that are suffering from this. But then there's also a lot of bad people who are getting their comeuppance. So it's
yeah, that's the part I'm enjoying. There's been people who have been browbeaten into silence. I always like to narrate the story of, I think it was named Neil Adams the Wise, where he I don't know where his head was. I think it was Neil Adams. I think that's his name. He was a comic book professional, and he just picked his head up out of the sand like an ostrich or something, and said, "Hey, I heard that conservatives are being ostracized and exiled from the comic book industry." And then he said, "I'm going to check this out." 2 hours later, he is crawling back on hands and knees after a huge Twitter mob had been berating him for 2 hours. And he said that, never mind, I was wrong. There's no gatekeeping. Don't, please show mercy. Don't hurt me anymore. And then he became a full-blown SJW, just a full-blown anti-everything and full-blown anti-fun.
Not Neil Adams. Oh,
yeah,
I worked
for
him
Neil Adams. I think it was Neil Adams. But yeah, that was the unfortunate case of his. And so people like Neil Adams, I'm pretty sure, aren't actually SJWs. I'm pretty sure it was more along the lines of, they've been browbeaten to silence and fear of their lives and their careers. Those people I have sympathy for. However, people who actively and actually participate in cancel culture, the comic book pros who actively participate in that stuff, no sympathy. I'm just going to sit back and watch you burn on the ship that you set on fire.
Now, Literature Devil, you're getting a lot of love in the chat, but for those who may not know who you are, why don't you tell them a little bit about your own projects?
Oh yeah, I have a YouTube channel on YouTube, obviously, and it has. I could usually cover narrative structures and defend the people who dislike the Space Wars movie. It's a Space Wars movie until you dislike it, and then it becomes influential and deep and emotional. And I think I became known for conquering or explaining adequately, or as adequately as I could possibly manage, the idea of a Mary Sue, because apparently everyone was okay with the idea of a Mary Sue until Rey was categorized as a Mary Sue, and then in order to valiantly defend their mistress, the Valiant Knights of Rey came out and said, "That's just terrible. That's just you're bad guys. If you think Rey's a Mary Sue, you're a bad guy." Because she obviously isn't. Everything is explained when it absolutely obviously is not. So I had at least two videos by now covering the Mary Sue, and one big video on why Rey's a Mary Sue and Luke Skywalker is not, because that's the main defense that they have is, well, if Rey's a Mary Sue, then so is Luke Skywalker. And so I went to that, and people seem to like that one. And then also have a comic book called Dr. Alpha Miracle Child, live on Indiegogo at the moment. It's still in demand. It'll be in demand for next, let's say, at least until September or so. And I actually have new things coming out for it fairly soon here, and I wish I'll announce when I get the supplies in or the things I need to show off. And but yeah, it's basically it's a 112-page comic book. The first edition of that, the first printing anyway, will be 123 pages at the very least, because it includes an additional story called Lady Midnight, The Jolly Goodbye, which is about a 10-page story that you get for free if you sign up, which I will be unleashing again digitally. You get digitally. You can enjoy that now, but it will be included in the print version of the first edition only. So if I ever do a second printing or whatever, Lady Midnight, The Jolly Goodbye will not be included. So it's just for the backers of this campaign only.
All right. So there you go, folks. If you're not too familiar with him, I suggest you check out some of his work. He's very, very smart and clever, and I can't wait to see your comic book either. So, yeah, I just wanted to let everybody know who you were. So, yeah.
Well, I mean, I feel like we're in good company tonight then to talk about the decline of the comics and everything like that.
Exactly, yeah.
So, let's start with the first thing I found. Well, Mecca, hold on. We don't want to leave you hanging. Anything crazy happened with you since we've last met?
I don't think so. Possibly. I have no idea.
Has Picard gotten worse?
Oh, yeah, that one ended. And oh, I forgot about that. Yeah, Picard. Ugh. I try not to think about Picard.
Well, I don't on a regular basis. I've seen a couple ads pop up on Facebook and I go, no. Sometimes I'll report ads and be like, this is hate speech. This is offensive. I don't want to see this shit.
Well, kind of it. It's definitely misleading. I mean, they're promising Star Trek and they're giving us, Murder Trek. So
Pretty much.
When you told me they dropped that bomb, I was
actually,
like, no, thanks.
actually liked Picard for the first few episodes, like the first couple of episodes, and then it became kind of tolerable, because usually when you have a first season of a new episode, it kind of sags in the middle. I consider The Mandalorian to fall in that category too. However, The Mandalorian turned out to be pretty good, all from beginning to end, relatively speaking, more or less. The Picard just started off on a high note for me and then kind of declined, stayed declined until it crashed and burned at the very end. It was awful. What they do? I know what they're talking about. But the thing is, I couldn't really tolerate a lot of this weird dialogue. It's like really woke contemporary dialogue, and the cursing they added in there. That's not really Star Trek. But I did enjoy the first episode. I don't think it was great. It wasn't narratively solid and everything like that. But it has some moments in there that I enjoyed. I mean, it's probably because I have to admit it might be due to nostalgia. I really liked Star Trek. I really liked the character Picard. So I managed to ride along with it, but it just crashed and burned at the very end. It was if it didn't crash and burn before, it crashed and burned at the very end. It was pretty miserable.
Well, it makes me wonder, can they make any genre entertainment that's a continuation of something not suck? Talk about crash and burn Star Wars.
Anymore? It don't seem like it.
Yeah, anymore is right, dude.
It's not with these sort of people that just put agendas. And I think in fact that he came out and said the runner of Picard came out and admitted he did the Ryan Johnson technique, as making something where he intentionally angered the fans.
Oh yeah,
which is not really a good strategy to go to, in my opinion. Might be alone on that one, but to me, angering the fans that have been with you for decades, the loyal fans that have shown you loyalty for decades, is not really the way to go.
Yeah,
but
all I know is
thing.
Yeah, all I know is thank God for Tiger King.
Dude, Tiger King.
Or I'd be probably thinking about suicide at this point.
Folks, if you're not watching it, you should be watching it. It is the greatest train wreck ever documented.
Man, so tiger. Tiger, so man.
Is that the show that's on Netflix?
Yes, it's fucking amazing.
Okay. I saw that advertised on Netflix. I didn't know what that was. I haven't tried it out yet.
All I know is if Joe Exotic, we were just talking about this before. If he ever gets out of jail and he decides to run for anything, especially president, I'd vote for his ass at this point. I don't care. I'll take that any day of the week. That man is entertaining. That's all I know.
Agreed. I know we'll get into it a little more later, but it feels like everyone in the documentary is a terrible piece of shit, but it's like who's the least terrible person. So
Joe.
yeah, that's why people feel compelled to have sympathy towards him, because he's the least of the evils.
And not only that, you know,
Politics.
yeah, he's very honest, and I don't want to give nothing away for those who haven't seen it, and I think we're going to talk about it after this show over on Mindless Entertainment. So if you want to hear us talk about it there, I'm sure we'll get into the nitty-gritty of it. But yeah, I mean, I think he's just an honest guy, and he admits to a lot of mistakes and stuff. So I think that really helps his character a lot.
Yeah. But yeah, we will be talking about that over on Mindless Entertainment. And Tom, you're joining us, correct?
Abso-fucking-lutely.
Oh, God, it's going to be fun. So after the High Council, folks, join us over there. So, on your screen in front of you, ladies and gentlemen, you have, from Bounding Into Comics, Marvel Studios She-Hulk writer Dana Schwartz compares coronavirus to Star Wars The Rise of Skywalker. So, the people in the chat are laughing about all this stuff. But do you want to hear exactly what she said? Okay, before I show you guys, Literature Devil, since you're tonight's guest, what do you think she means by comparing the Rise of Skywalker to the coronavirus?
Well, usually in these realms, they hate the Rise of Skywalker because it did more to appease the fans, as opposed to Last Jedi, which was just a big gigantic hate letter to the fans. So I would assume it was some sort of insult, saying that the Rise of Skywalker is some sort of plague upon Star Wars, compared to the coronavirus or something like that.
I think Literature Devil's right. I think they're under the impression that most of us like this movie.
Yeah.
Spoiler alert, it's the least successful Star Wars film in the Disney trilogy. We don't like this movie. I'll speak for we. I'm the royal we now. But Tom, what do you think she means by this?
Well, like I just said, I think Literature Devil's too on the button there. I think she's under the impression that we, as like you said, the entire we of the Fandom Menace, love this movie, when there's very few people who speak highly of it. And when your basic defense is, but it gives The Last Jedi the middle finger. It's like, well, that still doesn't make it a good movie. Now, between the two, I'd rather watch The Rise of Skywalker than The Last Jedi, but that's not saying shit, because I'd still rather get, a colonoscopy than watch either one of them. So
I'm of the same
I
opinion
actually
there.
think Last Jedi is a little bit more watchable than Rise of Skywalker.
It's technically more,
just a little bit.
but
Just a little bit. But no,
yeah.
I can't stand Rise of Skywalker.
I don't know. I mean, I'd have to rewatch Rise of Skywalker again to see, but I couldn't get through The Last Jedi after the first time.
Well, Mecca, do you want to guess what she says? Because I'll tell you guys, it's kind of rough.
Does she blame white men and blah, 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 patriarchy, and I'm a victim, blah, blah, blah.
The usual stuff.
Yeah.
The usual stuff.
She looks like the type of woman that uses the word patriarchy 4 to 5 times a day.
At least.
Right.
Even while she's taking a piss.
Yeah. It's like, the patriarchy. You can tell by the pantsuit. So, this is what she had to say. In a now deleted tweet, Schwartz wrote, COVID-19 is going to be like the Rise of Skywalker. It's a nightmare. It's going to be a struggle. But then we're going to come out on the other side and pretend it never happened. So that's really fucking mean, but I like it.
That's pretty accurate, actually.
It is.
It's kind of how we all dealt with The Last Jedi, in a way.
We can't.
I don't
They
know.
won't let us forget about The Last Jedi. They'll never let us forget about The Last Jedi because everyone loves it. It's been approved. It's been woke approved. Therefore, it's the best.
It's an Oscar-winning success.
Yeah. Even though it's horrible, it's a train wreck, and it is the one movie in my roster of movies that I hate. So if you look up the list of movies that I legitimately hate, it is only The Last Jedi.
There's nothing else you hate more than The Last Jedi.
No movie.
Whew.
Wow.
It's dog shit. It's a terrible film. I hate the movie It's Pat maybe more than the Last Jedi.
I don't know. I'll watch It's Pat a couple
At
times.
least It's Pat has Ween.
But It's Pat also
only
has
saving
Julia
grace.
Sweeney.
It's Pat's just fun to watch for that train wreck value of it, and it's entertaining in that sense. The Last Jedi is just fucking depressing.
You're right. It is depressing.
Maybe because it's depressing because the creators of The Last Jedi hate you personally. That's pretty much why it feels like it's an attack. It feels so bitter and feels kind of dirty to watch. Because the creators actively hate you.
They do. that was the first film that really, well, I wouldn't say the first. I'd say Ghostbusters was the first that emboldened the creators to attack fans. But then you had The Last Jedi, which rose from that. And then you've had it consistently up until Birds of Prey just a few weeks ago. The big topic before the virus spread and, shut down America was, the ladies of Birds of Prey attacking the patriarchy and all this other crap. It's every year. It's cyclical. It never ends. It's never going to end until these movies make $0 because they're going to find some way to become a victim. They're going to blame somebody. Oh, you didn't go see my movie. It's because you're a hateful robot, blah, blah, blah. No, I just don't like your movie about a bacon, egg, and cheese sandwich.
I think I commented on this some on other streams, but in their mind, the mind of the NBC and the SJW, whatever you want to call them, it's either you're a bad person for not coming to see my movie that actively insults you, or if they're actively losing an audience, like if in the comic book industry, for example, then it's a victory for them because in their minds, they're not driving away people, they're not driving away audience members, they're driving away bigots. That's all. That's what.
Yeah, it's just like Kurtzman said, about Star Trek. I don't want Trump supporters to watch my show. You know what? Exactly. You may not necessarily, you're going to lose not only a Trump supporter for that, but you'll lose somebody who may not be a Trump supporter, but might be like, you know what? I don't like other people telling me or telling others who may feel that way that they're excluded. I think that's bullshit. And I think that's one of the biggest problems with the whole cancel culture fucking mentality of these people. And I use that term very solidly when I say these people, because I'm talking about the keyboard warrior SJW Twitterati, and I stole that term from Rob, who's in the chat. I got to give him props for that. But it's true. These people think they're the moral high ground. They think they know it all. They think they're above it all. They don't understand history. They don't understand logic. And then not only that, it's everything's white man bad. And, if you don't agree with me, then you're some kind of istophobe. And it's like, how long can we keep going down this road? I don't think we're going to go that long. I think the bigger studios and some of that shit are finally kind of getting the idea. Sony kind of took the first turn with, we got to fix Ghostbusters. We got to make it right. Sonic, they didn't flinch. They're like, fuck that. We got to fix this before we really make a turkey. You know what I'm saying? I mean, I think Hollywood's starting to learn that social media can be a tool. Like, all you got to do is listen to the fans and you'll be surprised. They may not like everything you do, but they will support you.
True. I was reading the chat about the comment you made about the people who don't like to be told who the show isn't for or whatever. I think Hollywood's always been entitled, but we've never seen into this because being entitled, but also being narcissistic and having the need to display everything on social media, they feel like their words are so important. It gives an inside look at a lot of this stuff. And, speaking of going down this road, I think this virus may really hasten the trip down the road because a lot of these things are just going to be put on hold, crash and burn, all sorts of stuff. I think there's going to be a lot of restructuring, and I don't think they're going to be able to hide behind a lot of that crap anymore.
No, you're right. I mean, and I see a lot of people like, oh, this and that's going to come to streaming. And no, that's not what's going to happen. We're going to have a lot of these movies held off. But what you're talking about and what's going to happen there is a lot of these projects that are in production before all this going on that had a really heavy duty SJW kind of swing to it might not come back into production when all this is said and done, or may have a major change in the production. Because you ever notice that since a lot of this shit's happened outside of idiots like Dana Schwartz saying stupid shit, there's not a lot of the white man bad business going on. There's not a lot of SJW people worried about a lot of crap outside of, what the president's doing and whatnot. So I really kind of feel like a lot of people have realized that a lot of the bullshit that some of these kids have been bitching about for the last few years was much to do about nothing finally, besides us people who actually seen through the logic of it all beforehand, like how crazy they are screaming at the sky naked, thinking that's going to change the world somehow.
Wait, it's not?
You're just going to give some old pervert a boner. That's about it.
Well, no, you see, the secret is you got to have the sunshine on your asshole.
Yeah, bleach your asshole.
Josh Brolin.
Mm-hmm. Remember that a few months ago, or a couple weeks ago.
I can't think about that because I played this Marvel game on my phone, and you have Cable as a character, and I just think about Cable bleaching his asshole at the sun. That makes me not want to use him. But Anyway, here we go.
You're right about the Hollywood celebrities, though. They are actively entitled, and we've seen them expose themselves as actively horrendously entitled, especially since the dawning of all these movies that everyone are supposed to love and seem to hate. So the thing is, the main aspect of their entitlement is, or you could see the mentality, is when they come to you, when they come out with a movie that you're supposed to love, that fans are supposed to come out with it, and they did this especially with Star Wars. Is that the defenders of the woke Star Wars and the creators of the woke Star Wars? They say that the real fans, they separate real fans from quote unquote toxic fans, and toxic fans are the fans who seem to love Star Wars but don't like how the current iterations of Star Wars are ruining the legacy of Star Wars. And the good fans, the quote unquote good fans, are the consumers, the ones who just sit around and say, "Yep, it's great, Star Wars, it's fantastic, it's going to eat it right up." Okay, according to the Hollywood, those are the real fans. The ones that just say everything is great, that just give them money without any questions, give them respect without any questions asked whatsoever. And the toxic fans are the fans that actually ask the questions, are actually who are loving Star Wars, who love Star Wars for years and years and years, and and fell in love with the heart and soul of Star Wars, and are now questioning, what have you done with my Star Wars? This is not Star Wars that I know and love. And those are the toxic fans. The Phantom Menace, I think.
Yeah, I don't like the consumer is the only good fan mentality. I do think that the market will dictate what is popular enough to consume. And again, with The Last Jedi, we always talk about how it's $1 billion picture, and then now 2 years later, $1 billion picture is a failure. Where Hollywood's concerned now. But the point is, it's always like this law of diminishing returns, and it's something that it's a product of an era that is no longer acceptable. You said, Tom, earlier about everyone realized it's much to do about nothing. Mm-hmm. Well, now it's essentially a response. It's like, well, there's less and less of a return, and the shit that everyone was championing for and fighting so hard for, they didn't come back. It's like, it's so they want to be into this cultural fight, and they want to be catered to online. They want to be felt like we have the moral high ground. We're going to do what we need to do. But then we move forward to when it comes time to put up or shut up, and they don't put up. So I think they really damage their cause. They hurt their, everything with comics, with all that stuff. You have these people just looking like assholes. I mean, they were assholes the whole time. We've all known this stuff, but we were always called names for calling them on their shit. But all now it's just exposed them. And I love to like watch them walk away with egg on their face. It's like the big victory for all of us.
Yeah, and it used to be where the if the fans didn't like it, if you made a movie that had an established fan base already, and the movie failed, it was because the writers were bad, or the production team was bad, or something failed about the movie, and that was to blame. But nowadays, it's the fans who are to blame. That's what I mean by showing their entitlement. They are entitled to your work, your money, your time, and it's your duty, according to them. It's your duty as a fan to go and support anything they just churn out with the franchise logo on it.
Well, it's because they've confused the term fan and fanatic. Even though fan does derive from that term, I think there is a differentiation, at least in the world of pop culture now, to where you have, like you said, the average fan like us who we love Star Wars, let's say, for instance, but we don't like what they've been doing to it in the Disney Star Wars. And there's even an offset of that group that hasn't really been into Star Wars since the prequels, and they're just wanting some good Star Wars, I mean, it's really not that hard to ask for. It's not that difficult to make. It's kind of like I always bitch about Friday the 13th, how Paramount screwed, themselves waiting 5 years to make the movie. They lost the rights. Well, they went nearly bankrupt, and what they could have done is made movies like Friday the 13th that are basically money in your pocket. Because all you need is $10, some woods, a guy in a hockey mask, and some half-naked teenagers, and you're good to go. Yep. I mean, you can film it in your backyard, for fuck's sake.
So what year did Paramount almost go bankrupt?
Paramount's they were, between all the Transformers movies and all that kind of stuff, and that's the only kind of shit they had. Otherwise, Ninja Turtles was a failure. That monster truck movie cost them a buttload of money because the head of the studio decided to take his 4-year-old grandson's idea and make it into a movie. Um, it was that was why the whole point of the merger was because Paramount needed. They lost their Chinese investors, so they needed something to get something going, or they were going to go. They were going to go bankrupt probably.
The only reason I bring that up is because, dude, Paramount was the king of the 1980s in terms of
studios. Yeah.
They had the Indiana Jones trilogy. They had Beverly Hills Cop movies. They had all the Friday the 13th movies. Those were making bank. They had Top Gun. I can't even think of all the Paramount pictures. Paramount had just...
Yeah, they were probably one of the biggest ones of the 80s outside of Universal, just because Universal had all the Spielberg movies.
True. Back to the Future made, what, 300?
Yeah, the produced ones. And yeah, but I mean, yeah, it's hands down Paramount. If you don't count like the Star Wars movies and stuff like that, they probably won the decade easy. I mean, Eddie Murphy himself was the king of the decade. I think in the 80s he made more money than anybody.
Yeah, we always talk about it on this channel, dude, but Beverly Hills Cop made more money than Ghostbusters originally. Yep. So, I mean, and people were like, well, I've never even seen that movie. Well, it was a big deal at the time. So,
yep.
But I'm just surprised. That's the only reason I brought it up, is because I always thought to myself, how is Paramount ever going to go down? Because remember, folks, they were doing the Marvel shit. They were, before Marvel, I don't know what the deal was with Disney, what they paid them for, but go watch those early Marvel flicks up through the first Avengers. They all say Paramount Pictures on them.
Marvel could have had them for like $2.4 million, I think it was, or $1 billion it was. And then at one point they could even have them cheaper than that, and they turned them down both times. And then Disney swooped in.
The craziest story I read online within the last year is how Sony could have bought all the Marvel movie properties, but all they wanted was Spider-Man.
Yep, there was that one too, and they could have had it for dirt cheap.
Guys would have had the MCU, would have been a bigger thing. But talking about these fans, Literature Devil, I don't know how you feel, but somebody in the chat brought this up. I absolutely hate when they tell you gotta love it because it's Star Wars. Like blind brand loyalty is supposed to supersede quality storytelling. And I don't buy into that. I love James Bond. This next Bond movie might be woke garbage, may never come out. Who knows? I don't care. But the thing is, I'll call it like I see it. I think to be a fan, you have to acknowledge the good and the bad. And the same goes with Star Wars and everything else.
Absolutely. Right. And as a fan, you are kind of the keeper of the story, because you invested your time and your attention to this franchise, and because you love it, you're passionate about it. And when you're passionate about something, you love something, it's not just about loving it. It's about critiquing it. It's about looking at the problems and what's failing. Because if you have a loved one, right, you don't just say you're looking good when they're looking terrible. What they have, if they caught it like a cold or something, you don't say, oh, you're doing fine. This is fantastic. You're doing absolutely fantastic. You should go back to work right now, because it'll make it worse. Right? If they're sick, they broke a bone, broke a leg. You don't say everything is fine. You say that this is wrong. You need to go see a doctor,
or an alcoholic problem or something. Yeah,
something like that.
Yeah, it's like you're right on the money, Literature Devil, and that's what I was. Thanks for bringing back my point, Jeff, before, because that's what I was saying. The difference between a fan and a fanatic is the fanatic will buy anything, as long as it says Star Wars, Star Trek, whatever. They'll buy it, and they'll yell at you if you don't think it's the best thing since sliced bread, But yeah, like Literature Devil said, that's a great example. It's like a friend or a loved one coming up to you and say, how do I look? Well, it's one thing if they're not wearing makeup and their hair's a little disheveled, and to say, oh no, you look fine, as it is opposed to if they got a broken leg or something, or they're obviously got a drug problem that needs some addressing, then you definitely want to talk to that person about it,
Absolutely. Like a true fan will say, you have a problem, okay? Drinking 3 bottles of vodka every hour is kind of an issue. Fanatic, what they really want, what Disney Star Wars really wants from people, are people to say, hey, you drink three vodka bottles an hour. You do you. You do you.
To quote another YouTuber, I'll go, nah, it'll be fine.
Yeah, it'll be fine.
No, but I think it was Robot Shlomo. Rob in the chat was talking about how they say if you don't go support Star Trek, they won't make another one. And it's like, if you're a fan of the shows and you don't support the CBS All Access stuff, it's like, well, I don't want more. Like, I'm at a point now.
If you're going to keep churning out this nonsense, I don't want new Star Trek.
Mm-hmm.
Exactly.
We bring that up all the time. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was going to say, I know I'm in the minority with Star Wars, but I'm just, like, for me, I'm good with the original trilogy. Hell, I can even be good just with the first movie, and I get my full Star Wars experience. But, the trilogy's amazing. But, like, I don't need more. The story's over. Lucas went back into the prequels. I accepted it after 1 and 2. Then 3 was good, and I was happy. And again, I was done in 2005. They're like, "Oh, if you want more Star Wars movies?" No, it's the story. There's a story. It's a finite story. This isn't serialized like a Marvel comic or a DC book where it's like, I need to know the further adventures of Batman for 85 years. It's just like, no, Luke's journey is done. There's nothing to tell. It's like when people read manga. Like, it tells one story and it's done. I thought Dragon Ball Z ended like in 1996, but apparently it just keeps going and going. So
to Toriyama's detriment, he didn't like that. He's like, oh, you want me to continue? Here we go again. All right, I'll pump out some more stuff. Okay, that's why Toriyama's a writer who writes at the seat of his pants. So one thing he says a couple of years ago might be totally different in the newest story. That's why he's so interesting.
Yeah, but I love the analogy because we bring it up all the time where they're like, oh, if you don't support this, they won't make any more. Bullshit. It's not like Star Wars and Star Trek or Buckaroo Banzai.
Yeah,
it's...
I say this all the time. So what I say is, I don't have to accept your woke garbage. Okay, I don't have to accept new stuff just because it's new. There's plenty of old stuff I can go back to. I can watch DS9. I can watch the original series. I can watch Next Generation. Those are all great. Those are already great and fantastic. I don't need your new stuff. Especially if it's new stuff that's going to ruin the old stuff. I don't need to do that. And as far as Star Wars goes, I can just go back to the original trilogy, and I know the prequels have a lot of problems. I can acknowledge that, but they're at least tolerable and in some respects quite enjoyable. I can tolerate. I can tolerate the mistakes. I can laugh at the mistakes. It's still watchable movies. All three of them. I consider all three of them watchable movies. However, the sequels, not so much. Complete opposite. They're they're active torture. I can use the Last Jedi as a torture device, and it might be outlawed by the Geneva Convention by now. It's just horrible. It's hard. I'm pretty sure that we can. I'm definitely certain that there should be some sort of rule or law that we can hold Rian Johnson accountable on like some sort of Hague or something.
Hate crime, maybe.
Yeah, some sort of crime against humanity, crime against cinema as a whole.
But yeah, no, it's like I keep saying. I mean, Rob said the McRib, but what he means is the McLean, because that's what I always say. It's like, oh yeah, you're right. If I don't love Star Trek Discovery, then Star Trek's going to fail, just like when McDonald's fell apart after the McLean failed, Because that's the thing, they don't think about this. They're looking at Star Trek as a whole. It's like, no, Star Trek Discovery is just another product they're shoveling out there for us to buy. If we don't buy it, they're gonna shovel out another one like Picard for us to buy. If we don't buy that, they're gonna shovel out another one. But see, that's the thing, is what Literature Devil and Jeff and stuff are getting at here too, is that it can only go so far. Yeah, Star Trek and Star Wars may not be Buckaroo Banzai, meaning they're not, Buckaroo Banzai is not some proven franchise that we know is going to make money no matter what. Star Wars was. Star Trek was. That's the thing. We're saying the words was now and were when we talk about Star Wars and Star Trek. I never thought we'd get to those places. No. And that's why Midnight's Edge exists. That's why World Class Bullshitters exists. That's why Doomcock exists. That's why Mecha exists in the form she does now. I mean, I'm sure that's one of the reasons why you exist too, Literature Devil. So, I mean, that's the big thing, is we're sick and tired of being shoveled garbage and saying, here, eat this. And if you don't like it, you're an istophobe. And it's like, no, fuck you. It's shit. I'm not eating it. I don't care what you put on it.
Well, the nice part is that, Literature Devil, myself, other people out there, Ethan, we've decided to make our own shit. And I love how everyone's like, well, if you don't like it, make your own shit. Okay.
Exactly.
And then what? You make your own shit. People read it. Yeah.
And then we did. And then it was successful. There's so many successful stories out there from people who made their own stuff in defiance of these weirdos, and they cannot stand it. Not one little bit.
Yeah, and this goes right back to Dana Schwartz. Another part of this is she's also doing another thing. Mecca shared the thing there. She had a comic book fan take her to task for her whether or not she was even qualified to do this or why she would want to do this. And she couldn't even give him a straight answer. She was just being a dick.
Mm-hmm.
This lady's getting a video.
Yeah, she's a bit of a little bit defensive, She didn't even. It's I get it, because I get a lot of shit from people too online, but
no, this guy's he's not really being a dick.
Here.
Yeah, he's like, so where on Instagram is there any mention that you're passionate about comics? She has never written a comic, never worked in the comic industry, mind you. In a medium where frauds are spotted like criminal casing a bank, how do you truly believe you'll write something interesting? I would say good luck, but that would imply you give a shit beyond your own upward mobility. So how about don't fuck up an iconic character created by a company that was grown for an IP nearly 50 years? And it goes on here. Well, let's see if we can bring it up. I don't know if I can. For nearly 50. Oh, that was all there was. Okay.
I'll tell you, this lady and this bastardization of She-Hulk has actually made me go back and read the John Byrne stuff from the 80s.
Is she the one who ruined She-Hulk by turning her into a green fridge?
And then she comes back and it's like, oh no, he doubled down. The point of the seething protest is that I can smell disingenuous attention. Yeah, she just keeps going on being a bitch to this guy, like on and on and on and on, instead of just answering his question. Because at one point he's like, so why are you writing? Oh yeah, here it is. Connected to the medium and with character driven by its original source material. My question is this: why are you interested beyond the money? What makes you want to write about She-Hulk when you clearly are not interested in that genre? She never answers his question. And then this is what she comes back with.
Because they can't. Because
do male writers deal with this? Yes, they do. Men are constantly dick measuring each other.
Mm-hmm.
Constantly. There's a reason why Jeff and I clicked, because we get the same kind of jokes. Him and I know that we're into the same kind of shit, right? That's the same thing goes to where when you just meet a guy and you both want to test to see who's the more manly in whatever situation, or who knows more about this, or who knows more. It happens on a daily basis.
It's so harmful. This is why our whole culture of these Mary Sue fucking characters are so harmful, because you get these little rich spoiled brat women who go around thinking that they just get the world handed to them because they're a woman. And they don't have to answer to anything. They don't have to, qualify for the job that they're being hired for. And I pointed out in my video on this that he's asking the things that Marvel should have asked her in the job interview.
Yeah, and then of course she has to point, who gets into comics for money, believing anyone got into comics for money. Well, yeah, some people do.
Yeah.
But yeah.
You used to be able to make a profit in comics until they ruined it.
Exactly. Yeah, and then she just keeps going on. And my somehow to prove my worthiness in order to do a certain genre is incredibly toxic and also sexist. No, it's called a job interview.
Yeah, proving that you're able to do the job that you're going to be paid money for. What a novel idea.
Right? So I just had to share that too, Jeff, because she's a piece of fucking work, man.
She's a piece of something.
Is she the same writer who ruined She-Hulk by turning her into a big, gigantic fridge?
No, I think she has no connection with this character whatsoever outside of the TV show. Like I said, she's not written a comic book in her entire life. I've written a couple novels, and that was it.
That's just awful.
Yeah, look her up on IMDb or on her Amazon. This is what I did in my video. The Dana Schwartz on Amazon here. Her books are laughable.
Do you want to screen share them?
Oh, yeah, has she written for the comic now? Actually, though.
I don't know. This is John Byrne's She-Hulk #1.
I was going to say, I don't think she has.
That's, folks, if you guys want some good comics, find a way to read that one. And by the way, folks, we just hit 1,000. So if you're out there enjoying the show, give us a thumbs up to let us know that you're having a good time here with us on the High Council. So Mecca, let's see. The White Man's Guide to... This woman is getting a fucking video.
Choose your own disaster. And we're off. And we're off is basically Unicorn Store.
Well, this is promising.
This one is basically Unicorn Store. Let's see. From a school library journal. Let's see. This is the review. Is this that's the editorial. What's it about? A winsome and hilarious tale about losing the map and finding a way to a better and happier ending. I loved it. Like, who is this for?
Nobody. I mean, nobody. That's all I can say.
But she's a writer for Entertainment Weekly, Vanity Fair, Glamour, Marie Claire, The New Yorker, GQ, and more.
Oh, what's and more? Twitter?
Of the viral Twitter accounts, Guy in Your MFA and Dystopian YA.
Oh, yeah. Guy in Your MFA.
I don't want anything in my MFA.
Right? I knew what I meant.
No, thank you. No, but I just look at.
Oh my God!
She has a fake account she uses.
Yeah, this or this is her friend, repped by Dana Schwartz.
Her pet soy boy.
Yeah,
so cheap to get these days.
Dana, she's a treasure.
Well,
she's another Brie.
Well, you guys made a really good comment about getting people that don't know what this shit is, and I want to talk about Gotham High in just a minute. But we had a couple super chats rolling that I want to address because of the the topic of these are kind of, we're on the topics right now. So first off, the Fixer says, I just finished Half-Life Alyx, greatest VR game of all time. And with no spoilers for the ending, I can unironically say Half-Life 3 is confirmed. Anyone here do VR gaming?
I do have the Sony VR, but I haven't been able to play it in so long.
I actually looked into getting Oculus, but apparently they're all sold out.
Oh.
No, I'm aware of it, but I get VR6. So
I only looked into it because I really wanted to play. If I did get VR, I would want to try out the game Blade and Sorcery. It looks fantastic.
I want VR stuff, but I don't have the space. Or PS4 VR would be cool. Maybe PS5 will have it, and then I'll jump in. That's maybe the earliest I could get into VR stuff. Logan Michael Anti-Funko Pop says, are there any good Back to the Future comics? I'm going to go with no, honestly, unless you want to read the stuff based on the cartoon from, was it Harvey Comics from the early 90s? I don't like
Sounds
the Back
about
to the
right.
Future comics because what they do is they try to fill in the gaps for the movies that don't need gaps filled in. The story's great the way it is. You pick up where you need to, you know what you need to. If you really need back stories behind these characters, go watch the DVD and Blu-ray commentaries with Bob Gale and Bob Zemeckis. He gives you how to Doc meet Marty and all this other shit, and no book is gonna, do it better than the people that created the characters for the film.
All right. You want an expanded universe that's really decent? It's online. If you haven't played it, play the game or just watch the playthrough of the game.
That game,
Telltale, wasn't it?
Yep, Telltale Games.
The game itself, the gameplay's kind of crappy, but the story's amazing.
Didn't Telltale go out of business and
I think so.
in the middle of The Walking Dead?
Mm-hmm.
Matt G, thank you very much for your unicorn sticker. Appreciate that. The Fixer also says, I just remembered that J.J. Abrams told Valve about 8 years ago that he wanted to make a Half-Life movie. That better not happen for my sanity's sake. I hope for your sanity's sake and everyone. J.J. Abrams should not adapt anything ever again. Make your own original concepts, which is just a ripoff of everything else, JJ.
Yeah, just give it all to Uwe Boll. I hear he does adaptations.
Yeah, he does them quite well.
It's not Yui, not Ubi.
And if you criticize him, he fights you in a ring.
It's
awesome.
Uva.
Like that.
I'll wrestle Uwe Boll. I don't care.
He boxes you.
Yeah, you'd probably kick his ass.
I mean, what is he, like 5'2"? Nah, probably like 5'10", honestly. I don't think I'm going to have a size problem fighting Uwe Boll. Let's see how tall he is, if there's something about him. He is, I don't know, he's a restaurateur and he's from Germany. Well, good for him.
He may be a trained boxer, AJ Journeyman, but I think Jeff could take him. He's pretty big.
All I got to do is just like fall on top of him. That's it. I think I'm pretty good. But
well, you could probably hold him off, and he'd sit there swinging. You just hold his head, like in the cartoons.
Yeah, I can see that. Like a Dark Helmet in Lone Star.
Yes.
Dr. Coffin says, watching The Last Jedi was like seeing an old friend for the first time in 34 years, and before he could catch up, he gets run over by a car in slow motion. It was heartbreaking to see Luke Skywalker, just be ruined. Literature Devil, you said The Last Jedi is the only film you absolutely hate. What is your most hated part or parts of the film?
Oh, well, there's so many. I couldn't actually identify one, but mainly it's all the stuff with really with Luke Skywalker, how they handle Luke Skywalker, and because not only did they degrade Luke Skywalker as a character, they also degrade the Force. And I really hate one thing that really comes to mind. I really hated was this this comedy thing they have going on, where it's just a serious scene, and then they just inject some weird comedy in there, like when Rey is sitting on the rock and Luke Skywalker is saying, "Okay, concentrate. Can you reach out your hand? Can you feel the Force?" And he's tickling her fingers with a leaf or something, some grass, and that's the Force. It's the Force, really? And no, it's not. I hate, because one of the things I really hate about these modern movies and in general these days is that they have this weird idea that breaking up a serious scene with comedy is a good idea, which really isn't. I think it comes from Marvel or something.
Definitely Marvel.
Yeah,
It's a horror movie trope.
it's just that if this is a serious moment, a serious movie, or not a serious movie, but a serious moment in this movie, in this adventure movie, and suddenly you're going to inject comedy, and that tells me as a viewer that nothing bad is going to happen. That the thing you're trying to build up, the consequences and the stakes, not really there. It's going to turn out well in the end, and if you're not going to take this movie seriously, why should I? So it really takes me out of the movie, but the whole thing was terrible. I think the only thing I liked about The Last Jedi was maybe the effects and the music, and that's it.
I mean, even the music, it's hard to mess up John Williams scores, you know?
Oh yeah, really, really tough. I mean, I'm pretty sure if Ryan Johnson got involved into the music, that he could do it, but it'd be tough.
I mean, he would have had like a sitar instead of, trumpets and shit, but whatever. No, but you brought up, Tom, about horror movie tropes. I'm trying to think like what I consider great horror movies, and none of what I would consider the greatest ones have that like absurd comedy. They have those moments of like in Halloween when she's seeing Michael Myers on the street and she runs into the sheriff, and they have that like brief like shock moment and that resolution, and then they let the suspense build. But that to me would be like in like Nightmare on Elm Street. That's another one where they keep like that. There's that unnerving tone the whole time. Not even until you get to parts.
It started to creep in more in the 80s. Yeah, like you'd have something either scary happen, or you'd have a moment of levity to break the tension or to misdirect. And I think it started with Marvel movies more so just because of the family aspect, that like you deal with something heavy and they thought, oh, well, if you throw in something goofy and light, that takes away from the heaviness of it. But yeah, it was more of a misdirect in horror movies. And that's kind of why people remember horror movies being a lot funnier sometimes than they really are. Like the jokes in horror movies. It's like you try to explain a joke in some horror movies and it doesn't seem to work. Like, outside of, you can sit there and set up a comedy bit that happens in a movie, and you can generally get somebody to laugh and get them to understand the whole joke, right? It's kind of harder to explain it in a horror movie without going through the whole setup of what's going on and stuff, and why it was funny in the moment, as opposed to it's not just a funny moment on its own kind of thing. Killing and Scream is a great example of that. They use that to the super extent in Scream. Like, you've got every other scene, there's some goofy joke. Even when people are dying, you've got jokes shoved in there. Like, when Stu's dying and he's like, oh my God, my mom and dad are going to be so mad at me. The whole theater fucking laughed at that part,
Well, the reason you brought up the Marvel thing about how to cut the tension for families, I firmly believe the only reason that the Star Wars movies are structured the way they are is because Disney owns Marvel. They see the results. They see they see more than we see, and they know they're all successful. So we're just going to copy and paste that formula into
Star Wars never was chock full of humor. You had a few bits of humor in the first movie with the droids. I'm trying to think. Han Solo had a few moments,
but Death Star, especially like when he's stand back and he shoots the wall, or when he's running into the stormtroopers, or just lines of dialogue. He's funny, but like naturally funny. They don't stop the original trilogy to like put a your mama joke.
It's from the character. The character is what makes the joke. In the Star Wars sequels, in the sequels, it's more like the okay. Here's the part of the script where we put in a joke. In the original trilogy, it's Han Solo reacts in a funny manner to something, to a big event or something, and it's natural, it's organic, it goes with the flow, it goes with the character. What the movie doesn't do is stop in the middle of things to have a nice little funny joke and then continue the movie.
Great example is when he's sitting there and he's like, we're fine here. We're all fine here now. How are you? If he would have said, hey, what's up? Or something like that, it wouldn't have fit. And that's what they would have done now with the new modern Star Wars.
Exactly. It's this modern day language. And they do the same crap in Star Trek Picard and all of this.
I could not stand that. I could not stand that modernized, quirky, whimsical language they have in Picard.
Mm-hmm.
That's not how they speak in Star Trek, okay? It's many, many years in the future. And if you've seen Star Trek, that's not how they speak. Okay, it's not how they speak. In fact, I remember there's a scene where in that one movie, the one where they go back in time, the original cast with Spock and
that's my favorite
part.
Yeah, he says he cusses, and then Spock is like, well, that's kind of strange. He kind of points out that's kind of weird, and then Kirk is like, this is how they talk back then. You have to curse in order for people to understand you or pay attention to you. Like, oh, that's weird. Because it's weird for them to do that.
The colorful metaphors. Yes. And I even brought that up in my interview with Nicholas Meyer to kind of get him to address how they were treating Star Trek. I'm like, considering you wrote Star Trek 4, how do you feel about the colorful metaphors being such a big part of that story and how they reacted to them when they got to the 20th century compared to now when people are just, swearing willy-nilly. And he's like, that's an interesting question, and that's the best question you asked me. And he basically didn't know how to answer it. It was really like I kind of stuck him in a corner and he didn't know what to do. And basically, I think I kind of caught him in a moment. But again, to reiterate, I think the NDA gave him not very much wiggle room to talk in his defense. And he was kind of gone when not too long after Kurtzman got brought on board, from what I've noticed and everything I've been researching since then. So,
and along with the subject of colorful metaphors, the really big sin from the I think the first episode was when Picard encounters that really scowling admiral when he goes to ask for his reinstatement to Starfleet, and she curses at him and just goes into this tirade, this anger-filled tirade. And I'm sitting there thinking to myself, how did you get to have such a prominent role in Starfleet? Because you're, as a Starfleet officer, you're supposed to uphold some sort of decorum, some sort of just have control over your emotions. That's what it was all about.
It's about respect, chain of command. It's not an acceptable, appropriate military. No admiral is going to tell a captain that in an official sort of meeting. Maybe when they're off time and they're drinking or something. But no, you have military protocol, and this is one more reason why they desperately need a military advisor on Star Trek Picard and Discovery, because they don't know anything about anything.
Immediately made me think that this admiral did not get her position by deeds, but because she had the right father or something. Because there's no way an admiral would talk like this to a hero of the Starfleet. There's just no way. I don't care if Picard just recently slandered Starfleet or blamed Starfleet for the event, the horrible tragedy that happened on Mars. I don't care. She would not say that. I mean, you had Admiral Macheyev. She was known as being the scowling, really angry admiral, but she kept a decorum. Okay, she was angry and strict, but she kept her emotions in check. Not this admiral. So all I know is that all I can conclude is that somehow either Starfleet went really lax in the few years Picard has been gone, or she just got her position by knowing the right people.
Bat Goat says, I think she fucked hubris. That's how she got the job.
I think so.
Yeah, I've been seeing those ads for free Star Trek, or excuse me, CBS All Access. I'm not even going to watch it for free. So I think you guys are the best at selling me not to watch a TV show. So CBS, no. Do you think, what other characters can they ruin as much as they've ruined Picard, Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and
if they go after Worf, it's going to be all that war. If they go at Worf and Cisco, we're going to have problems.
You think they'll have the nerve to go after a Cisco or Janeway or any of those characters that SJW or NPC people would try to defend? Because it's funny how they're always like, this is the first time, it's so progressive, Michael Burnham, this, that, and the other, and then you have all these people online go, hey, look at all these Star Trek captains beforehand that did this shit. I guess we just somehow forgot. And then they're like, oh, no, it doesn't matter. We're the first. Like, have you noticed that literature first is, above all else with these people?
They always want to be the first. This is the first Star Trek series that did this, and this. I know it happened, I think, that Anna, that Star Wars girl, like, she really got kind of peeved that they paired up Seven of Nine with Raffi, that crack addict or whatever she was, and with no fanfare, with nothing, just kind of like madniks, just connected to each other out of nowhere. And so someone trying to retaliate against her by saying, "Did you know that bi women exist? Finally, we have representation in Star Trek." It's like,
there was always representation in Star Trek.
I'm saying, you've never seen Star Trek, have you? Because there's tons of examples in there.
Well, now they've tried to turn that argument on us. They tried to use that argument as an excuse as to why they should have it in there.
Yeah, it's either have it. It all depends on what they're trying to argue. Sometimes Star Trek has always been progressive. Sometimes it hasn't been progressive. It all depends.
No, they just don't want to. They just want to gatekeep us away from it. Is what they want.
They want Star Trek all for themselves. They want the evil, toxic, the fan base that had already been established there for decades to just move along and leave. This is our space now. It's our safe space.
Mm-hmm. It's just ridiculous. I always play the clip of Dax making out with the other Trill chick. I'm like, every time I need to correct them, how there was always representation, there was always diversity, there was always these plots. Only they were done in a much more intelligent and respectful way, other than just trotting out a token LGBT character just to have a little Wokemon point. Because as a bisexual woman, I do not need Star Trek to tell me it's okay for me to be bisexual. And anybody who needs that in a TV show, maybe needs to have a personality and some confidence in their life choices instead of just relying on a TV show to tell them it's okay to be gay. Because guess what? If you need a TV show to tell you it's okay to be gay, then you got a lot more problems with yourself.
Well, there's the old saying, when you're accustomed to privilege, equality feels like oppression, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's the problem, is Star Trek was already equal. So this is oppression. But they'll try to turn that kind of an argument on us by calling us an istophobe, saying we don't want this or we don't want that. It's like, no, it has no, and again, it's just a broken fucking record. And they just ignore that fact. It doesn't matter because it's so much easier to paint us as you know, an aggressor and them as the victim. That's all it is. That's really all it is. Star Trek has always been about equality, is the bottom fucking line. And when you try to pretend like you're the first one to get there, it's really, you know, you got to admit it after a while that you're just toting people out there for, you know, your own whatever agenda. Because obviously, like Mecca knows what I'm talking about. We always compare this to the old circus freaks. It's no different than that. And the fact that you know, people like Anthony Rapp and, you know, Mikey, what's her face who plays Michael Burnham? What's her name? Mecca.
Oh, Sonequa Martin Green.
Sonequa Martin Green and stuff like that allow this shit to happen. They're just as guilty. And I just hope that someday they wake up and realize they're just being used as a tokenism, you know, to sell a product as something, you know, that isn't, you know, yeah, go ahead.
I always love to point out that, you know, for all the hate I get for complaining about Michael Burnham, the character would be terrible if it was a man. If you had a snotty, bitchy man going around shoving Saru out of the way, being the bestest at everything all the time, it would still suck. I mean, it's still shoehorning in a character to be the adopted sibling of a character that was already established just to fix and appropriate and see yourself on screen as these characters, because they can't write an actual world you want to fantasize to live in. No, they've got to just shoehorn you on to some other character because, oh, I know Spock. I wish I was related to Spock. It's just stupid.
Well, it's that. Well, it really is the Mary Sue fan fic bullshit. I mean, that's what you do if you're not creating. You know, obviously, you can't be the character that you love, so you create something adjacent to it.
Yeah, it's like the She-Hulk, you know, stuff all over again. Where they're like, finally, a she version of Hulk for me. It's like, oh, please, people.
Or a good transition.
You know, yeah, or
Batman.
Lady Spider-Mans and
Gotham.
Lady Thors and Lady Batwomans.
Gotham High.
Gotham High, yeah. We need to change and fix all of that because it's so problematic.
I was gonna say there's a good transition to that business.
Yes. Let me read a few more of these real quick. Stone Cold Jeremy says Michael Jordan said it best when he asked,
I forgot, yeah.
Why don't you get political? Because Republicans buy shoes too. I think it's a smart way of saying where he lies politically, but it's also a smart business move. You don't really want to alienate possibly 50% of your audience with your political drivel. People didn't watch Michael Jordan because he was a political beast. He was the best basketball player of all time. That's what people were watching him for. People aren't reading Spider-Man to be lectured or She-Hulk to be lectured to by weirdos. You're buying it because you like the character and you want to see the adventures of what the fuck is her name? Shit, not Jessica Drew. Is it Jessica something? I can't even remember the character's name. Fuck. Anyway, I digress. But thank you, Stone Cold Jeremy. That's an excellent point. The Funk Groovin says, whatever happened to the customer is always right. I don't know if this is just me, but the customer is always right because we stop buying the shit and eventually they stop making the shit. That's what I take as the customer is always right. Not necessarily everything we say has to be followed to a T.
Chat thinks you're talking about Jennifer Walters.
Jennifer Walters. There we go. Sorry. Boom. Lost her name. There we go.
I was gonna say I wasn't sure either. If it took me a second too.
I was like Jennifer. Anyway, Jessica. Thank you, Dr. Meatball. That was close. But yeah. Sorry, we're having a little bit of connection issue here. So if sometimes it sounds like we're talking over each other, folks. Apparently, the whole world is using the internet at once, so it's harder to do a live show.
That's what happens during this pandemic. That's why YouTube kind of shut down a few days ago, or had troubles with streams, because everyone is just rushing to YouTube and using the internet at the moment.
I was just thinking about this. I'm like, watch, in a few weeks, months from now, we're going to have a situation where we're going to be limited on how much streaming and stuff we can use the internet for. And I kind of giggle, but
they better not, because that's the only thing that people can do is their.
I know, but here's the thing: is you're going to have more and more people working from home, so they're going to be like during certain hours of the day. They're going to throttle. Like Netflix.
Well, they better not,
YouTube.
because we need this to live and survive now, because we are working from it, and they have no idea what hours of days people are working. I could be working, right now, as this is our jobs pretty much. So they better not be throttling it.
Well, they already kind of are in some areas. I know that. Like certain ISPs are throttling like Netflix and stuff like that.
And they better lower your prices though, because if you're paying, like I pay for the 4K, 4-screen, whatever Netflix. If I'm not getting what I pay for, then Netflix needs to just take that tier out of existence and go down to 1080p only and stop. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Physically on 4K if you want to have it shot that way. But if I can't even consume it that way over streaming, the main thing that you're known for these days, there shouldn't be that option to pay for it. Be like, refund me.
Yeah, it's going to get interesting here if this drags out a lot longer.
They're saying now May 5th for Boston.
Batgoat makes a good point. Turn off the porn and watch how fast we riot. Well, that's what's going to happen. People are going to get fed up that they can't get any download speeds, and they're going to freak out. And then for now, we're going to read Etepocoin's place to be reviews. He says, the MCU stands are the worst kind of sycophants. How do you feel about that, Literature Devil? Do you think the MCU fans are damaging as Star Wars fans? I would say I disagree.
I don't think so. I mean, Star Wars fans are. I mean, I would say the sequels Star Wars fans, Disney sequel Star Wars fans. As far as I've seen personally, I haven't looked into how the MCU fans react or anything. But yeah, the sequel fans are a lot more rallied, a lot more deranged in some senses, especially when taking the Reylos into that effect. I don't personally see any Marvel fans going to those extremes as I've seen Star Wars fans have.
Yeah, I just don't see, like, I consider myself an MCU fan. I've lost a lot of interest in it because the story's over, but like I don't see I just don't see the same kind of like infighting between the fans. It's like we're all on this ride together. Another thing that's nice too is that the MCU, while these are adaptations of pre-existing characters to a degree, it's also the first time this has ever happened. So this is like all the fans back in 1977 through 83 with Star Wars. We've seen this thing. We're all blown away. We're experiencing it together. We don't have older fans that like, the real unaltered version. We don't have people that like this version, because there's only one version of it. There's no subset of MCU fandoms. I mean, you do have people that like Guardians over Avengers or Captain America over Iron Man, and that's fine. But at the end of the day, still I'll go see the movie.
Fan stuff. And but thing is, I think until Captain Marvel, if you just take out Captain Marvel and kind of forget about the movie like most people did, it's from beginning to finish, all the MCU movies are relatively movies you can just watch, turn your brain off, and enjoy. You can enjoy that from the good ones, the actual really really good ones, to the ones that are not so good. They're just people have a lot of problems with, but you can just sit back and enjoy them as movies, as opposed to the Disney Star Wars sequels, which you kind of can't, not all the time anyway.
Yeah, I was gonna say I think there's a separation between the Bree-bots and the actual MCU fans.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, definitely.
Bree-bots are their own thing. They're their own, like, they just love everything about her because they're either paid to or they're just.
I think
because
they love Brie Larson because they know that she makes the fans angry.
She doesn't make me angry. She makes me money.
True. If I ever met her, I would shake her hand and say thank you for the millions of views I got off of you.
Why are you touching me?
I don't want to. I guess I would have to practice social distancing. Yourself, Brie Larson.
Should be screaming rape.
That's why I go with 10 people, all filming the entire thing. That way, when she says some shit online, I'm like, I didn't ask for your goddamn phone number. I don't want to call you. I don't even want to know you. I wish you didn't exist. There we go. Then she'd be like, you threatened me. I did not. I said I wished. That's not a threat. Yes, and just to smelly crispy critters. That
World Case Shit Kickers guy tried to rape.
World Case Shit Kickers. I want an Can somebody make an alternate account for me? There's like 5,000 Jeremys. Can we get a World Case Shit Kickers? I like that one. So, I know you guys have been talking about this. I've heard about it at least. I don't know about you, Literature Devil. This is the first time we've interacted. Hopefully not the last. But Gotham High. Have you seen this stuff pop up online?
Oh yeah, I've covered it a few times on my morning show. It's a kind of a ride.
So, for those out there who do not know, Gotham High is a young adult graphic novel featuring a Chinese Bruce Wayne with his gay uncle Alfred. Gotham High, where Jack Napier is now the Joker again, because in 1989, Jack Napier became the Joker, and then after the years and years, we kind of just accepted he has multiple, or we don't know where he comes from type of thing. But this is what happens when you have a writer who does not get an IP. You get Gotham High. Like she even says, this woman, Melissa De La Cruz, the writer. I don't know much about Batman. My husband likes it, though, and that's why I kind of took it. And he's seen the movies, so let's break all this stuff down for a minute. So, Tom, what were your thoughts when you saw this?
Dear God, why?
Mecca?
If they wanted to make Archie, why didn't they make Archie?
They own Archie, don't they?
I don't know, probably.
Or maybe Archie Comics is still its own company. I guess it is.
I don't know. I haven't bought them in a long time for the Archie stuff, but
it's hard to say. They're probably a subsidiary of a subsidiary now.
Let's see. Subsidiary. Archie Comics is an American comic book publishing company headquarters in Pelham, New York.
Yeah, they're still their own thing, I guess.
Yes, people still care for some reason about Archie.
Well, my first thoughts really, honestly, were, who is this for? And I know we say that all the damn time, but who is this really for? Because if you're trying to create a Batman fan out of this, they're going to be really disappointed when they try to move on to Batman and realize it's not like this. And there's no Batman fan in their right mind that's going to get caught dead reading this shit. So I really don't understand who this is for.
Yeah, like you said, you're going to eventually, you always move up. So I use this really rough example. It's almost embarrassing, but like James Bond Jr. I used to love that cartoon, watched it all the time. Then I moved up to regular James Bond films at an early age. So I quickly learned that James Bond Jr. is just made up to make money off the name of James Bond. Nothing to do with it. But I liked what I saw and I stuck with it. I don't think today a lot of people will stick with it. I think they'll go, oh, this is Batman. Why doesn't he look like this? Why is he this in the movie? I don't like it. And then it's not a love story. This isn't Spider-Man. I don't.
What about you, Literature Devil?
About Gotham High and the little love story they have going on.
What was your first reaction? Yeah.
Well, it was terrible because this is actually a joke. This is actually a joke premise. Have you ever been in the rounds of fan fiction? And this is actually this is such a normal or an average premise for the lowest tier of fan fiction that it's kind of become a joke in the writing realm.
They even did a comedy animated show called Gotham High a few years ago, right? Everybody remember that? Or
they wouldn't call the animated series called Gotham High. It was canceled, I believe. But there was a parody that was just pretty much this. And this is how you know that they're giving away these franchises to people who have no idea what they're doing. That this writer just took she took a very prominent, very recognizable, very lucrative name, and then just did whatever she wanted with it. She destroyed the lore, she just tore it to pieces, and then rebuilt it in her own image, which is not a good sign for a company that wants profits. You don't want these things that these people have grown to love. You don't want them to be torn to pieces and then rebuilt as something completely different, unless it's going to be like some sort of Elseworlds sort of story. But they're trying to paint this as this has been Bruce Wayne the entire time. And I think they have Catwoman in there, and they have Robin in there, Barbara Gordon in there. There's messing up the continuity. It's basically a whole new story, just with names from the Batman franchise in there. And this is this low tier fan fiction premise where it's she goes in, the girl goes in and she falls in love with two charismatic guys. One is really rich and the other one's also really handsome. They're both really handsome and charismatic. And I think it really speaks to how, because if it was the other way around, this one guy falling in love with two like traditionally attractive women or female characters, it would be a riot. But because it's a woman falling in love with two really, really traditionally attractive male characters and one who is super rich, it's not a problem. It's perfectly normal, perfectly acceptable YA stuff. But this is a very low tier, very low grade as far as I've seen. It's like if you made a serious sitcom based on the age old event of she invited two dates to a prom night or something. It's really, really low tier, really low grade, very, very basic stuff.
I agree. I just, and to me, like, it's like, oh, there's going to be a Robin at this high school. Isn't Robin significantly younger than Batman? Wouldn't Robin not even be born? So it's like, and Baby Robin, it's like Muppet Babies meets regular Muppets at the same time.
That's the same thing I brought up.
Like Robin and Batgirl, they shouldn't even be born yet. I don't think so.
Like we had Flintstone kids and shit, and Scooby Doo kids, and
I don't know. I look at this and I thought, well, this was canceled once for a good reason, so let's try it again. DC ripped themselves off. They stole from themselves, which was fantastic.
yeah.
The chat says Robin would be about 4 years old. Okay, well, even then, I don't think when you guys were 18 in high school, did you want to hang out with a 4-year-old that wasn't related to you, or even if they were related to you, did you want to hang out? I didn't have any young cousins.
So what are they trying to do? Make him Sheldon or Doogie Howser or what?
I don't know. Robin wouldn't be Robin unless his parents were killed. So I think it's a little young for his parents.
So I guess it's kind of convenient that Bruce Wayne just happened to save Robin, a person whose parents are part of a traveling circus, who happened to be in Gotham, I guess, that day. And then the years later, their paths meet again when after his parents die. Well, how convenient! Very, very convenient.
Yeah, I wish this was actually from the comic book, guys. This is from the failed, unused Gotham High cartoon series. The comic itself has it's not this good if you consider that good.
The Gotham High cartoon series kind of looked interesting. It looked a little interesting. I mean, it was clearly Elseworld because they already had the Joker with his white skin and green hair, as if he already got dunked into the chemical vat. But it looked like it was more of a level playing field. Like it could focus on any one of the characters. Here in the comic book, it's just a self-indulgent fantasy between Bruce Wayne, the Joker for some reason, and Catwoman. Even though the Joker is supposed to be this outcast of society, this weirdo, and now he's just a charismatic ladies' man,
which I don't like. My question too is when I look at that kind of stuff, I go, we all see how they become these villains in Batman. So, like, why is Clayface in high school? Why is this person in high school? It's like, I get it. It's supposed to be fun, but it just, I don't know. It has, like the Riddler says, just too many questions.
World Case.
There we go. Hello, everyone. Thank you, World Case Shit Kickers. You're my favorite customer. Oh, hi, dog. So, I mean, yesterday I did a little reading on Fandom Menace Tonight talking about this comic book and this great dialogue. And I mean, this thing, it's, we're talking about Master Zhang. Tell Master Zhang I sent you. Like, this to me feels like just a new superhero, not Batman. And plus, can I just say, it seems weird to be releasing a press release about a Chinese superhero with the power pass during this fucking coronavirus.
Right.
It's like literally the worst time. Because all it does is open you up to fucking jokes. People are dying over this shit, and DC puts this out. I mean, DC...
And not only that, he's Batman.
Yeah, that was my first response to this on Twitter was, picked a great time to pander to your Chinese market, DC.
Of course, you're an istophobe if you have any problem with this significant lore change. And the lore change that they went from, I think, wasn't Wayne Enterprises supposed to be like this generational thing? It was an old company.
Yeah, now his mom came up with it.
Yeah, now his mom funded it. She was a rich lady in Hong Kong, I think. She was a rich family in Hong Kong. So They came by and she just funded the entire Wayne Enterprises. So now she's the foundation for everything. Because men can't do anything good or competent or be in any way successful on their own. If a man is successful in these comics, it has to be because of a woman was helping them out.
I mean, I loved when we had a couple of years ago, maybe closer to 10 years ago now, Batman: The Court of Owls. You want to talk about building up the world of Gotham and doing something really cool? I liked The Court of Owls.
And that was the one I was thinking about because the Court of Owls kind of listed the Wayne Enterprises as kind of old. The Wayne family was always really, really involved in Gotham City, and I think Wayne Enterprises was kind of an old, really old company that was not started by Thomas Wayne, but started by his ancestors.
Yeah, it's supposed to, like, what? That's why when people make the argument, why can't Batman, or why isn't Batman black in the movies? Well, I guess they're using if the company Wayne Industries or Wayne Enterprise or whatever the fuck you want to call it, Wayne Tech, it's founded in, I don't know, the 1800s. We got to look at what's going on in America in the 1800s type of thing. They're building from that. I mean,
that's the argument Rob always brings up.
And it's the same thing with, whatchamacallit, James Bond. You got to look at, like, well, why is James Bond white? Look at the population of Britain today. It's like, this book came out, I think, was it 1952? We're talking about a guy who worked in World War II, who's, using that as the basis. So he's looking at who was Secret Service, who was this and that. So they reflect the worldview of sometimes when they're created. And then when they become iconic, they have to, at least in my opinion, they should remain true to the character. I don't want I mean, you can have Elseworld versions. I don't need to buy it. And I don't like when Elseworld versions come in and bleed into the main universe. That's why I had no issue with Into the Spider-Verse, because it's an Elseworld story. Peter Parker didn't, Peter B. Parker or whatever had dealt with some shit. They didn't, really ruin him. They put him in this other world and it worked. I liked the movie. But I just wish they would take that kind of stuff into account. Now, is this Literature Devil, do you think this is more or less offensive than what we had last week with the New Mutants, Snowflake, Safe Space, Screen Time, Glandular Girl, and
well, to separate them, I think what they did to Batman and the lore is pretty offensive. What they did with the New Warriors was just hilarious. Everyone hated it. Even the Mary Sue wrote an article about how it was awful. Everyone hates the New Warriors.
Now, I wanted to ask, I'll ask all you guys this question, though. They always throw the argument at all of us as fans. If we always say, don't change established characters, create new ones. And then yesterday I was talking on the show, yes, they created new characters, but they suck, and we're also able to critique them in that. Do you think that you're able to hide behind the argument of you wanted new characters, here are new characters, you should just accept them blindly, even if they're bad?
No, because the reason why we say make you new characters is so you don't ruin the old characters, for one. But that doesn't mean your new characters are supposed to be accepted just because they're new. You have to make new, good characters. Not just new characters, but new characters that are well written and aren't just one-dimensional archetypes. Not even archetypes. Just,
right.
You put a face on your political agenda. That's pretty much what they are.
Well, look at comic industries. Look at it. Let's this way. What did they say? There's over 500 some characters attached to the Spider-Man license when it comes to Sony. That's the thing. How many of these characters have been created over the years, and how many, especially like in the comic book boom, lasted past that? Not that many. Like all of us, right here, if we were put on the spot, could maybe name, probably 12 to 20 characters on each DC or Marvel if you say you can't use the X-Men since that's cheating, kind of thing. We could all sit here and probably do it, but we'd be stretching it by the time we get to those last few because you're starting to get into the B and C tier characters that nobody really gives a shit about anymore. That's the point. So why do this? Why do this to characters like this that everybody cares about? That's what I love about the Watchmen, is they took characters that, were kind of similar to characters that existed and made newer versions of them. And they were also stand-ins for characters that we already kind of knew as far as tropes. Like the owl, Night Owl is a Batman-like character. And obviously Dr. Manhattan is an allegory for Superman. We get that, but it doesn't have to be Superman. It doesn't have to be Batman. Do something different, do something original, do something that's interesting, that's a twist. Just making everything SJW isn't making it interesting. It's just pushing a fucking agenda.
Alan Moore was a talented writer, so he didn't have to use The Question. He didn't have to use Superman. He didn't have to use Batman. He was such a talented writer, which is what you're supposed to be when you're trying to push forth your new thing. At least have some some passion in your writing. But he didn't have to use established characters. He went ahead and used new characters that he made when he couldn't use the established characters, and they were fantastic. People loved them.
Yeah, and now they're more well known than the Harvey characters they're based on, or whatever. It was a Harvey comics, I think they came from originally.
Charlton.
Or Charlton, thank you.
Yeah, Alan Moore. It all just stems from people that like this shit making this shit. You know, you look at Milestone Comics. You guys remember those, right? Static Shock and all those.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I mean, make your own character. Okay, we need a minority character. Okay, Static Shock. I don't know all the Milestone characters. I'm not going to act like I do. But that character really caught on and is still relevant to this day. I mean, I think most people here would go see a Static Shock film and they would never go, oh, they're pushing an agenda. It's just that character. And the thing is, like the Black Panther movie itself, the people surrounding it wanted to make it, make that narrative thing. But the movie existing wasn't about that. It's just the Black Panther who's been around for over 50 years at this point. So I just think these people are obsessed with this stuff and kill it all.
Well, I think that Black Panther and Captain Marvel are two great examples of how you can do it and how you shouldn't do it. Black Panther fits within the world of the MCU. They did a great job updating the character to the modern age. Maybe because he's not such a well-known character, they were able to, manipulate him a little bit more into this MCU, but it doesn't matter. It works. He fits. He doesn't, take away anything from the MCU that was there before. He's not a detriment to anybody. He's not out there going, you just don't like me because I'm black or anything like that. You know what I'm saying? That has very, very little to do with his character other than it's in his name. And he comes from Africa. That's it. Other than that, there's very few times where they call to attention that he or his cousin or anybody else in the story are just there because they're black. Other than that one time they had the joke with the silly white man joke or whatever it was with what's his face, the Hobbit.
Oh, Martin Freeman.
Martin Freeman. Yeah, that's like the only time that I really remember them really having fun with it. Other than that, that movie doesn't have it all over its face. Captain Marvel, on the other hand, is a big fuck you to men, and there's even scenes that we know about that were cut out that would have made it 10 times worse.
And the actress was unsufferable.
Yeah, and then not to mention that the detriment that it does to the history of the MCU as a whole. I mean, there's so many problems that movie creates on top of everything else. So
yeah, we forgot that like she's now the first Avenger.
Right. So I mean, in the end, whether you liked whether you like Black Panther or not, it's pretty much harmless. It's not out there going, yeah, this is all about black power and shit, when it's not. But Captain Marvel, on the other hand, they were out there going, yeah, this is all about women power, and it clearly was. Even worse so with like Birds of Prey. This most recently is the same kind of a situation.
Well, thankfully, Birds of Prey, unfortunately, didn't have the lineage of the Marvel IP to jump onto, because like I've said before, we're at the very end of it. We got one more stop before the big finale. Of course, we're going to go check it out. Just one more movie before Endgame. Of course, we got to see how it ties in together. We can't miss this one. And then you watch it, and it really has nothing to do with it. You could honestly, with the exception of the opening scene where she brings the ship to Earth in Endgame, and then at the end when she, fights, what do you need the Captain Marvel film for? They really
don't.
That movie really retconned a lot of the wrong stuff. You've really
That's what I mean, yeah.
Nick Fury's power.
Hey, we got Comics Division in the chat.
Who's that?
Oh, he hangs out on the Friday Night Tights with Gary and all them.
Oh, what up, Comics Division? How you doing? I like that show. I've been on it once. Doug, Gary, I wish him all the best. But no, the point I was going to make, though, is this in no way, her movie doesn't add anything. It got lucky. Birds of Prey it exists in the BVS Suicide Squad world, and that's effectively over. Even though people like Aquaman and Wonder Woman, DC's smart enough to know that we can't continue this.
Are they? I hope so.
Dude, just let me hope that somebody that's not Disney has some business people behind the scenes that are smart.
I hope so. I really do. I mean, I hope they learn the right lessons from Joker and the other movies that were successful, and they learn the hard lessons from things like Birds of Prey. But we'll see.
I remember there was an article out that there was another movie being made that was going to that touted the fact that it had a small budget. So I think the fact that what they're taking from Joker is that it was successful because it had a small budget, not because of anything else. I forgot which movie it was. There's another one coming out that has a small budget, and it said, it's going to be like the Joker because it's a small budget. Like, what? That's not what made the Joker great. Okay, there are other things involved.
You like, good acting.
Yeah.
Introspective topics where you think to yourself, when the Joker says about the way I am, I'm paraphrasing, I've seen the movie once, but he says something along the lines of, I'm the way I am because people like you are the way you are, something like that, when he's talking to Murray, and you're like, have I ever contributed to that sort of thing? Like, it makes you think. Birds of Prey is just a neon nightmare. What the fuck does that contribute to higher thought processes? It does not.
I'd actually argue it's darker than the Suicide Squad was as far as the neon portion. But I mean, I get what you're saying. I'm just saying, it was depressing. Did you see it yet?
No, I haven't even had a chance to see Sonic yet. You think
I know? Okay, well, no, don't waste your time yet if you haven't. Yeah, it's fucking depressing, especially if you're a guy. It makes you feel sick to your stomach after you're done watching it.
It is kind of. It's really, every man in that movie is just useless or horrendous or a murderer or a torturer. It is over the top, gory,
or
violent.
Fucks her over for no reason whatsoever, like her landlord.
Yeah. Other than he's just the bad man. More China pandering too. Because apparently everybody in this world who's Asian owns a Chinese restaurant or something in the Birds of Prey universe.
Yeah, even this time of Corona, I'm not in a rush. I will watch anything else over Birds of Prey. I gotta.
Bad Boys 3 came out today. I gotta watch that yet.
I hear nothing but okay things about it.
As long as it's better than part 2, that's all I care about. I'm one of those few people who I saw part 2 and I was like, oh my god, it's a Michael Bay movie. And I know the first one was directed by him, but this is no joke. After seeing The Rock and then seeing Bad Boys, I remember saying out loud, walking out of Bad Boys, that Michael Bay is going to go somewhere. This guy's a great director.
Yeah, Into the Toilet was the correct answer.
That's the problem. Is after that he got, I don't know what the fuck happened, but those 2 movies, and then you go to
Armageddon.
Well, Armageddon, maybe that was the problem. I like Armageddon because it's just popcorn fun, but it does kind of create a lot of Bayisms there. There's definitely a lot of Bayisms there.
I'm in the minority that I absolutely hate Armageddon. I think it's like, it's so 90s, but in a bad way. Like, I can go back and watch Point Break or Wayne's World or all these other, Encino Man, Terminator 2, these very, very 90s films. And I dig it. I love it. But then I get to something about Armageddon, man. I fucking hate that movie with a passion. I don't know why it is, but I like the song and that's about it.
I'll test it. I have not seen Armageddon in probably close to 10 years now. So I'll test it one of these days when I get a chance, and I'll let you know if it holds up, in my opinion. Because I didn't hate it. I actually liked it quite a bit. I even used to have the Criterion DVD, but somebody stole it. That's why I haven't seen it in like 10 years.
I watched it with Joel, my friend Joel, who used to be a world-class bullshitter himself, and he swears by that movie, but not me. I can't do it. But I do like Con Air, even though that's not a Michael Bay film.
No, it's a Bruckheimer film, so it counts. I guess.
So
why couldn't you just put the money down?
Now, Literature Devil, I want your take on the way they try to writers. I'm not gonna say women writers, but maybe it is. But like the way they try to romanticize Joker, make him this romantic style character. I don't buy that. This bad boy, this whatever. Here clearly in this version, he's from the wrong side of the tracks. I mean, you have a billionaire and you have a kid wearing cutoff plaid at the same high school. So Gotham High either is like just the best public school in the world, or Bruce Wayne is like Harry Osborn in the first Spider-Man film. He got kicked out of every private school in the world and all this other shit like that. So, I mean, do you like, or does it bother you as much as it bothers me to try to put Joker in these, like, to romanticize him, that these female writers try to, make these characters pine over him. I don't get the appeal of a psychopath that will cut off his own face and do all these horrible things, beat a dude to death with a crowbar, electrocute people, burn them, melt them, poison them. I don't see the romantic aspect of that. I mean, is it because I'm just a guy and I don't get it? And Mecca, do you find those traits in a man attractive?
Well, here's the thing. I don't, and I don't think a lot of the girls who like the Joker do either. They're just unaware that he does those things.
It's just because he looks sexy, because he's got that goth thing going on, is what it is.
He's Sean from Boy Meets World. He's got that wrong side of the track.
He does look like him there.
Yeah. So that's why they like him, though, because I don't know, there's this weird subsection of people who like fall in love with serial killers and other psychopaths. They just get obsessed with them. They want to marry them. They want to have the babies.
Right, but that's what Harley and Joker is, though. It's that unhealthy obsession with those type
it's an
of
unhealthy
people.
obsession. That's why I think that taking the tragedy of Harley Quinn just destroys her character, and she wasn't meant to be emancipated, okay, quote unquote emancipated. She wasn't being held captive. She wasn't being like hypnotized into being with the Joker. She was with the Joker because she obsessed with him. It was her idea. It's her actions. But they're trying to take away the fact that it was her idea away in the movie. That it was all the Joker's fault. I mean, all the Joker's fault, because of course it's the Joker's fault. But in the original iteration of Harley Quinn, it was her fault. She was the one who was obsessed with him. But in this instance, where they make the Joker this romantic character, I guess it's that appeal that he's the bad boy. He's damaged.
Yeah.
In the what was it, the Suicide Squad, where he had the word damage literally tattooed to his forehead. That's what they want. That's what they really want, this bad boy that they
That's the tragic story of Harley Quinn, is she thinks she's fixing him when actually he's just pulling her into his fucking craziness.
That's the appeal. That's the appeal. It really appeals to this subsection of fans who want the Joker to be this misunderstood, damaged bad boy that they can fix.
Exactly, yeah.
And you have the perfect version of him here.
Oh, fuck this book.
I want that to be a soundbite for the next review. Fuck this book. That's it.
I honestly have been so out of comics for so long that, I mean, really, I can't speak to the whole fact that they drove me off so long ago. It's not even funny. So, I mean, you're not creating any new. Who are you going to bring in with this shit? I don't see anybody buying this book. I really don't. This is really, in my opinion, worse than the SJW Warriors. This is even worse than the Children of the Atom.
Yeah, Children of the Atom to me is the least offensive of all these. Like when I went to look into it, I'm like, okay, they've cloned the X-Men. There's no originality here, but at least
the problem with the X-Men right now is they got Wolverine and Cyclops and Jean Grey in a polyamorous relationship. That's the fucking problem with X-Men right now.
Yeah, I don't. I get there's always been romance in X-Men, Scott and Jean, Peter and what's her fucking name, Kitty Pryde, all that stuff. And then Logan with Yuriko, Mariko, and all these women across the world and these, missed romantic opportunities. But now it's like you're just turning them into like you want to put them in the 2020 thing. It's like these characters already had an existence. You got to take into account you don't get to change core values. I've never read a Wolverine comic once and thought to myself, he probably likes men as well. It's like, no, because I don't really think, like Marvel characters, you have their personal life plays a big part. A lot of DC characters, it's the the superhero aspect, which is the bigger deal. But
all I can think of is the Eddie Murphy bit when he's talking about Mr. T and he's like, hey Cyclops, you're looking mighty fine in them jeans. Why don't you bend over? I'm gonna fuck you up the ass. That's all I can picture. That's not Wolverine. And not only that, you've taken the most progressive, diverse comic book team in history, and you've taken it to the nth extreme. Like you've turned it up to 11. Okay, now you've seen Multiplicity, right?
yes,
You know what happens to number 4, a copy of a copy. That's what this is now. We're in the Steve of comic books. We're in the number 4 of comic, whatever he's called, in the movie. I can't remember now. I think he's called just number 4, or I can't remember the name they gave him, but he calls everybody Steve. That's all I remember. Okay, Steve, that guy. That's where we're at. It's like everything's a copy of a copy. Nothing's ever original. You can't come up with something new. It's bullshit. That's why Comicsgate is so big right now. I mean, it's the only place to find anything original and not like in your face bullshit.
Agreed. 100%. Like you said, that this does so much damage to, like, because it's bad publicity. They say no publicity is bad publicity. I think it is, because you may have a dude that, I haven't read comics in 20 years. All comic book stores are shut down. As soon as stores are opening up, I'm going to go back and support my local shop. And then they're online looking what's going to be out, and this pops up and they go, that looks terrible. Or they're looking to see what's new with the X-Men. Oh no. And then they just don't go, It was kind of nice. There's a sense of familiarity when you go to your comic book shop and you're like, well, Superman still stands for truth, justice, and the American way. We'll see what other characters are up to. Sometimes different is good. Black Suit Spider-Man, that's a good change. It made sense within a story. But then you get other shit like Wolverine and Cyclops banging. And never once did anyone think that would be a good concept. I'd love to hear what Chris Claremont thinks about that. Behind the scenes, where he doesn't have to worry about getting, slayed on Twitter. Just his honest to God answer.
Hello. Yes, Dr. Coffin Nail's Multiplicity is hilarious. It was directed by Ivan Reitman, too. Or not Ivan Reitman, Harold Ramis.
I was going to say of Ghostbusters fame, and that works for both.
Yeah. I knew what I meant, but yeah, said the other.
Shout out to everyone watching tonight, folks. We had just hit that 1,200 mark, so thank you for joining us here on the High Council. We will be here next week and the week after. Each night I have a good evening, not a good evening pop culture, excuse me, a Fandom Menace Tonight stream, so that's always a lot of fun. And, I just want to tell everyone thank you during this time of all this craziness. It's nice that we can all get together and have fun at the expense of bad pop culture. So, Tom, do you think it's time to show everybody what I was working on?
I think so, unless you're talking about those nudie pics, but those are for a different thing.
Yeah, we don't show those on stream.
That's right, yeah.
So,
unless you want to hit some super chats first, that's up to you.
Yeah, I'm going to read some super chats. And then last week, folks, we talked about those cards, those SJW cards. Well, it wasn't just a good joke. I've taken it to the next step. So, let's see. We have our friend Baptist702. Thank you very much for your generous super chat. I despise the merger of Marvel, Fox, and Lucasfilm with Disney's agenda. I hope indie creators will destroy SJW corporations with the classical heroic and villainous tropes like hashtag Dr. Alpha. I don't know who Dr. Alpha is, but I'm going to look it up.
Dr. Alpha's Literature Doubles.
Okay. I haven't even had a chance to check it out, but I will now. Yeah, I do think I personally would like some classic good versus evil stuff like that. I only think people willingly accepted Fox and Disney's mergers because of Fantastic Four and X-Men. And if you want to talk about Etep Okoyan's earlier point about Marvel sycophants, maybe that was the most damaging thing they could have ever done, was just blindly accept and get excited for it. It's like, you didn't think of other ramifications. You don't think of, distribution rights. You don't think of your favorite movies being jacked up in price. Like, I watched a really great 30-minute video on the Disney Vault system and how it eventually fell apart because they were always trying to keep everything so exclusive and try to re-release at full price constantly left and right, and it burned people out. Disney was so late to the home video party. And the same with Star Wars too. Like, today, The Rise of Skywalker hits 4K and regular Blu-ray and shit, but like, Blu-ray was out for 4 years before we had Star Wars hit Blu-ray in 2011. DVD had been out for 7 years, and before we had Star Wars hit DVD in 2004, maybe even earlier. Like, I consider 97 when DVD came out. Is it earlier than that, Tom?
Technically, you are right. It was available in China and introduced to the market. I think they had some players by 96 Christmas time, but 97, I believe, is the year that they actually kind of consider the first year of DVD in the US. That's why I think the first titles finally hit the market.
Because I just remember my cousin having a Philips DVD player, and he had Copland and Austin Powers and just like a bunch of movies from 1997. So that's why I always put that year with that. Yeah,
because I got it in 98, and a lot of my first titles were like Austin Powers, Blade, as far as newer ones. So yeah, that's roughly that time. So yeah, they were pretty much brand new when it came out. So
my first DVD was Men in Black.
Which is surprising because that was a later DVD. That was
Yeah.
supposed to be an early DVD, but Spielberg, ironically, was behind DivX and pulled the DVD.
I hate when it's so funny when these people pick the wrong media formats to back. You know, sometimes it's just like,
Which is odd because you brought up the Blu-rays for Star Wars. Lucas was right on board with VHS, Beta, and even the RCA video disc, the predecessor to Laserdisc, kind of. They're not related, but they're it's kind of a similar kind of thing. But yeah, he was first to get those out there. 1982, Star Wars was on VHS and video disc and all that stuff. So,
well, Lucas lost the urge to be on the cutting edge of home video.
He kind of just sat back and waited to see what was going to happen, it felt like. And then I heard another rumor was he was waiting for DVD players to be in enough homes. And then he released the DVD for The Phantom Menace just before Attack of the Clones came to theaters.
Yeah, I remember that, getting the huge VHS release. My mom bought me a copy. You could even get like a VHS box set of The Phantom Menace.
Yeah, I had the box with the widescreen edition and a film cell, and I can't remember what all came with it.
My first VHS was Spider-Man Says Salvador. Dude, I remember riding a bus to get that on DVD. I was in the 8th grade. It was so important to me to get that movie.
I bought the box set of the DVD of Spider-Man that came with another DVD and a bunch of other crap too, I remember.
Same. It came with Kevin Smith's Monsters, Madness, and whatever with Stan Lee. It came with a reprint of Amazing Fantasy number 15. Yep. It came with a
film cell too, I think, speaking of.
And a little print, which was inked and drawn by John Romita Sr. and Jr. And then, I think that was the whole box set, but it was great.
God, that was so long ago. That was 20 fucking years ago now.
Dude, it was November 1st, 2002. I just remember it was the day after Halloween, so.
Almost 20 years ago, yeah.
Let's see. Our friend Tyler Preston says this is exactly like Jessica Price and Guild Wars 2. I've never played Guild Wars 2. Have you guys?
I've heard of it, but
isn't she the one who was she did something, I remember, on Twitter attacking somebody, right?
Well, she's like the woman whose name I won't speak because I don't want to give her free public attention with and all that stuff. But it's just like you get these pundits that go after stuff. It's like Tipper Gore with the PMRC, just the modern digital version. It's like, yo, chill out.
Yeah. They're vice cops. They're just overgrown hall monitors. Really? These are the people who go in, I'm going to ruin everybody's fun because I'm offended on behalf of somebody else. It's like, who cares? Shut up. Go home.
Exactly. Just tell them to shut up, have a coconut smile, and shut the fuck up. That's how
that's how these people should be treated. I mean, when they come up and complain about something, all they deserve is to be laughed at and then ignored. But it's unfortunate that they've been given power by all these companies. All these companies come out and say, "Oh, these are the people that we should be listening to. These are the real fans." And that's why they've gained such a strong foothold, because all these companies want to be progressive. They think because these people are so loud and so obnoxious and so annoying that they think that these people are actually the people who they should be listening to, the people who are the majority of fans. They think the Twitter mob, the Twitter mafia, you might say, are the people that are actually buying their tickets when they absolutely are not.
You're 100% correct in that. They're definitely not.
Right. And I think everybody, I don't want to be a hypocrite and say not everybody's feelings shouldn't be heard, but yeah, the big question is, are they really even fans? Are they really even buying the shit? Is what they're saying even, relevant to what, the franchise is about and all that kind of shit too,
As far as I've seen, the people who complain about everything, they're not actually fans of the franchise.
That's what I mean. Yeah.
Yeah, they're just there to complain, and when they fix it, they're there to complain some more or just leave. They don't actually give these franchises money or attention other than that.
Right, and that goes right back to Ghostbusters, where I think a lot of the people that were, behind that big movement didn't necessarily care for the original film, weren't fans, and at the same time, they tried to pretend it was some major thing for women when it was like, well, hello, you're disregarding all the women that were turned on by Ghostbusters to begin with and got into the paranormal or science or some kind of, area, just like Star Trek. It's the same thing as before, like we were talking, this virtue signaling that you're doing. All it's doing is saying, well, all these women that were into this before don't count.
Yeah, and it's offensive to marginalize the people. It's like, oh yeah, we came before you, we did this. Nah, you didn't. We're gonna be the first ones. We're gonna take credit for it.
Well, just like the Brisson commercial, in the making of it, she's like, well, if women don't see it, they can't be it. It's like, duh, like the first man who went to the moon was thinking, oh, I've never seen anybody go to the moon. I better not try that.
Yeah, better not. And I like how when Black Panther came out as a movie, they tried to pretend Blade wasn't a thing. They said, well, it's not a real superhero movie, so that Black Panther could be the first black superhero movie.
I hated that. I got so pissed. One, because Blade kicks ass, and two, it's just wrong. Blade is a Marvel superhero. He's been around, for what, since the 70s when he first appeared. When did Blade first fucking appear? I can't even remember.
I think it was the 70s sometime, wasn't it?
Yeah, I can't remember which book though.
It was a Spider-Man book, wasn't it?
I know Luke Cage was in the Spider-Man book. Yeah, I guess Blade was in Spider-Man.
I thought it was a Spider-Man book. I could be wrong. But well, here's the thing. Not to say that there's you're not right about that argument, but that argument goes across the board for a lot of things though. Because I remember when they like Deadpool's the first R-rated comic book movie. It's like no, you forgot about Heavy Metal among many others.
Yeah, Heavy Metal would have been the first.
And then you got every time something's the first, and it was like, oh well, Wonder Woman's the first superhero movie. No, we had Supergirl way back in 1984. You can even count Barbarella if you want to do that. I mean, there's a lot of I think it's just revisionist history, or for people forget. So that's a big part. And then of course people are bringing up Meteor Man and all these other characters, and stuff like that. So
and more delightful revision from delightful Ministry of Truth, that is Twitter.
Oh, Tomb of Dracula. Okay, I stand corrected. I trust you, Comics Division, on that one.
I completely forgot. Barbed Wire in 1996. God damn, that movie was terrible.
Yeah, you got Barbed Wire too in 96. Tank Girl was what, 97, somewhere in there.
Yeah. They might not have been very good, but they exist.
Exactly. Now, I do think it's a crime that Wonder Woman hasn't had a film since shit. She should have probably had a film before Supergirl, if you really want to argue that.
How do you think a Linda Carter led Wonder Woman film in, let's say, 1982 would have played?
Oh fuck, it would have been great. It would have done very well, I bet. Yeah, and Blank Man. I love Blank Man. The one place we couldn't go, the women's bathroom.
That's such a fun movie. I used to catch it on Comedy Central.
J5.
Let's see. Joseph Bienowitz, thank you very much for your generous super chat. He says the rise of no talent, all has their patron saint, the Kardashians. Do you think Kim Kardashian introduced the world to you can be famous for no reason?
Yeah, between her and
Hilton,
I was gonna say the Hilton and what's her face, Lionel Richie's kid. Was kind of the original.
You just walk into public light, curse a bunch of stuff, curse a lot, and then be vulgar, and then get famous. You think they had any influence over these SJWs? It seems like they might have.
Go see one of the more recent interviews with Paris Hilton. She regrets a lot of that shit.
Well, look at some of the recent interviews with Michael Chabon and Patrick Stewart and all these people on the Star Trek podcast. So, these people talk like that. They use the F-bombs in the thing, and Patrick Stewart uses them right back, and the writers use them, and so a lot of these people do. That's kind of their modern thing.
Well, they think they're being edgy like George Carlin used to be, and the problem is St. George would be telling them to go fuck themselves right now. That's the problem. As liberal and democratic as he was, I think he would just I honestly think he'd be shoving a lot of their noses in this shit. He would take cancel culture and turn it on its head. He'd be like, try and cancel me, motherfuckers, and just, he would.
Yeah, that's George Carlin. That's him to a T.
I mean, as much of a liberal and all that kind of stuff is right now, I don't think he would react to this SJWism very well. Mm-mm. It's probably a good thing he died before a lot of it became.
Well, he was the one it was starting then, when back with the soft language and stuff. Where people were changing the wording of things, and he was calling them out on that shit,
Yeah, because he didn't even like the PC culture. That's what I'm saying. He would have just flipped his wig on this shit.
He did a whole stand-up on shell shock and PTSD. A shell shock sounds like it's bad, something terrible. And then he goes to post-traumatic stress disorder, and then that sounds like something that would happen to my car. So he goes at the softening of language, the taking the humanity out of language. That's what he had a whole little, I guess not a whole stand-up, but like a little routine on that.
Yeah, and that's definitely like a precursor to what we're dealing with now, and that's what I'm saying. Like he would have, there's no way he'd have been cool with any of this shit.
I think if enough celebrities had the balls to stand up against this shit, or if they didn't have demons or skeletons in their closet, we could wipe this out quickly. Cancel culture. If enough people empowered, it's like fuck this. This is stupid, and just because ultimately it's the dollar bill that speaks. Somebody like a George Carlin, who maybe he wasn't even financially motivated. He just was this great comedian who had this great career, but at a certain point in his career, he's like, "Fuck it, you can't do anything to me. I'm well off for the rest of my life. Plus, I have this name." I mean, if somebody like I'm trying to think. He wouldn't. Let's just use The Rock. He's like one of the biggest stars in the world. He's like, you can't cancel me. I'm The Rock. Fuck you. And just kind of blew that off. Or like an Eddie Murphy in his prime or something like that. There's just, if enough of these big stars were just like, no more cancel culture, I think it would go away.
Yeah, I guarantee you if Carlin was alive today, his last stand-up special would have been called #cancel culture. I guarantee it. Like, I can just see that in my head. Like, if he was still alive, that's where he would have gone. A lot like Ricky Gervais. Yeah, he just had enough. Just had enough, I mean, even people like Bill Maher.
Rogan, he's calling out Gal Gadot for that Imagine shit now.
Yep. Even people like Bill Maher, who he flat out has kind of gone the other way too. He's just like, you shut the fuck up. This cancel culture bullshit, this SJW bullshit is enough.
Like, we get it. We already got it. Don't hate people for the color of their skin.
Yeah, we're so beyond that stuff.
Oh God, Sam Kinison too. Too bad Rob's not on here, but it's probably too late for him to get loud anyway. He does a killer, Sam.
One thing it's really annoying about these SJWs, I mean, apart from everything else, is that they like to paint themselves as activists and being brave and stunning, but they only ever do the activist stuff, do these big demonstrations in places that are perfectly safe to do it. Like I mentioned, or someone mentioned that the guy who plays the Flash like to appear in a dress or something to fight against social norms. And the thing is, he's appearing in a dress where it's perfectly safe and protected to do so.
Wait. So there was this band called Greta back in the 90s who used to just wear dresses for no reason. It was just guys, because it was, it was a fad that a lot of the guys with, like, they kind of had long hair, they're the more musician-y types. They would just wear the kind of summer spring dresses. It was about 93, maybe 94. And if Rob's in chat, he'll probably remember this too. You're not doing anything different just to go around wearing a dress. In fact, you're copying stuff from my time. Stop.
Yeah, like Dr. Coffin said, David Bowie did that in the 60s.
Yeah, David Bowie did that all the time. And it's not brave anymore. It's not brave when you do it when it's perfectly safe and protected. It's brave when you could be hurt or otherwise
exactly.
So.
And that's
it's basically us, because we're getting bullied for being brave and actually telling people to shut up about it and telling it like it is.
There's people who march in like during the civil rights movement where they can actually get shot or hurt or something. Those people were brave. The ones that they're doing it now, they're not brave. They're just going out and doing something that everyone knows is fine and acceptable. Everyone knows not to judge people by the color of their skin, or most people do. And if you are attacked, you have the world comes to your defense. I mean, it's not acceptable to attack someone for wearing a dress just because they're wearing a dress. Like, it's not acceptable. And society now kind of mostly has accepted that in general. And so when they're coming out with a dress, it's more like, it's less of we're doing something brave. It's more like I just want attention. I know this is safe to do, but I want to act as if it's not.
Yeah, that's a big part of it, because like I've pointed out too, I've got a lot of people I've talked to that are well, Mecca's also an LGBTQ member, but I mean, my point is, most LGBTQ people I know over the age of, say, like 30, 35, they all say like the same kind of shit. We fought so hard just to be seen as people, and now everybody's, and not to be a label, and now everybody's like, look at my label, and you better recognize my label, and look at their Twitter handles. The first thing they say is what their sexual preference is. I don't give a shit.
Pronoun label, gender label. All right, how about what the fuck do you like for dinner? What's your favorite? What's your favorite breakfast food? What's what do you like as a person? Are you a decent human being? That's all I care about. And a lot of times they're not. A lot of the times they're just hate mongers.
I kind of this position of being like they're kind of using the momentum and the good deeds done by previous movements who actually underwent the danger and did all the hard work, and they're just kind of taking advantage and this using all of that goodwill, all of that hard work, all of those successes, so that they can paint themselves a bigger name, get more likes and retweets on Twitter. So I essentially go back to that story where that the story of that hen I wanted to make a cake or maybe wanted to make a dinner, and she goes to all of her animal friends and say, "Can you help me make this dinner? Help me make this cake." And all of her animal friends says, "No, I have something better to do. I
Little
can't do
red
that."
hen.
Yeah, little red hen. And then once the dinner is made or once the cake is made, all these other animals come back and say, "Hey, we want some of that." And then she goes, "No, all these SJWs and NPCs are the animals that Little Red Hen."
I believe the original version was "Go fuck yourself," but they changed it.
And in this scenario, this analogy anyway, the Little Red Hen are the people who actually did all the hard work, the people who actually marched in the civil rights movement, who actually underwent the pains, who took the licks and the bruises and bled and sweat and cried about using these by trying to make these people equal, like trying to get people equal in the eyes of society. And all the animal friends are the SJW NPC people who are coming in and trying to feed off the hard work of someone else.
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, that's can't really say it better than that. How about you guys?
100% agreed. So Tom, I think I'm gonna show the card.
Awesome! I can't wait because I haven't seen these myself, guys. So you're gonna get my natural reaction too.
So now, okay. So folks, last week we discussed as a joke we should come up with these SJW superheroes. We came up with tons of them. The names were rolling in. So I took a lot of those into account. I'm going to sit down and make a master list down the road soon. But I thought, let's keep the momentum rolling. So what I did is I made a couple templates. Now, these are going to be a front back card. Front, obviously, with the artwork. Back is going to feature a little bio and a description of the character. So it'll be kind of fun. But so what I took up inspiration from the old Marvel Universe cards from 1990. So as you can see here, we'll have the this is just the layout right here. We'll have the heroes. We'll also have the villain cards, and we'll have this logo, like a social justice warriors type of thing. And here's a rough one this is based off something I had drawn years ago, but I had it just to show you guys. So this is like third wave. So Feminazi in the third wave is obviously a feminazi, and her third wave, they're like a shitty pro-feminist band or something. I don't know. I don't have a story written yet. But the cards will be something like this, and we'll take all the names, all the ideas into account and make them reality. And because I'm friends with other artists, I'm going to, ask, I'll see if Anna will draw us a card and this and that, and if we can, and we'll see where it goes from there. But yes, this was a thing. I just want everyone to know, like, it wasn't just a joke for the sake of, 30 minutes of entertainment on last week's High Council. It's really something fun that I think a lot of people would like. So this is going to be a card set. And the reason I'm going forward with it this quickly is because I was contacted by somebody who owns a printing company that makes trading cards right like the next day. So I'm like, well, people really like this idea, so we'll make it happen. These will be physical. Everything will be worked out before we launch, and we'll have all these worked out. But I'm thinking maybe I would love to do a set of like 40 cards, 20 good
20,
guys. And Tom, you could help me come up with some of the ideas on the back. We could have a rap session online, maybe come up with something fun. And
sounds fun.
Maybe some people can have themselves turned into a card. Who knows? But I basically will have a list. I'll ask the artists what they would like to draw, and we'll try to make it happen. So I just wanted everyone to know that this was something that we came up with and we wanted to do, and it's a fun idea because right now fun is necessary. So there we go, folks. I'll make these available, and everyone will know how to get them. This won't be like a one and done type of thing. So I actually thought if it takes off, we could do multiple sets, and then that'll be it. It'll be fun. The Social Justice Warriors is the name of the thing. So
I really like this idea. I think it's very entertaining.
I can't wait till we make it a comic.
Did you draw your comic, or did you just write it?
I just wrote it. I've actually hired an artist to do all the heavy lifting, so to speak.
Oh, okay. Well, it's still making a comic, man. So if you had any, like if we have a list of names or something you wanted to throw an idea out there, something, we'd love to hear it.
Oh yeah,
so,
I'll be all over that. That'd be fantastic.
I'm gonna follow you on Twitter so we can stay in contact.
That sounds good.
And I'm going to start trying to spread the word about these, because at first people were like, you should do a comic. Well, if there are all these great characters, you can't fit them all into one comic, but you can do a trading card set and then comics down the road. So,
and you kind of got to do this to come up with a Bible anyway, in a way. So we're kind of still doing the same thing we would do, but we're sharing it with everybody this way, I guess. You could look at it that way.
And here's the inspiration for the cards. Like, this will be like these old Marvel ones were ones I grew up with, and I fucking loved these things. And then this will be what the back looks like. You'll have the name, you'll have some stats, a little description, and a did you know fact. And they're going to be a lot of fun. I mean, I don't know. Did Garbage Pail Kids have a lot of stuff on the back besides?
No, they usually had a thing you could put together for a big mosaic.
Okay.
Or whatever you call it, poster or whatever.
So there we go. I see a lot of great names. I see a lot of stuff. So just keep watching the High Council and the live streams. I'll keep updating everybody, and maybe by June have this available. So there we go. So that's the information, and you guys, we'll give you updates all the time.
Sweet.
So, I'm excited. When we got off the air, I went to Jesse and I was like, this was so fun. This was such a great thing. Everyone was so into it. Let's make it happen. So there we go.
We're taking it back.
Yeah. We're going to make fun of this. We'll make the social justice warriors the greatest thing ever.
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. It's not, you shouldn't just give ground. You should be taking ground. It's taking back what they took from us. Comics being one of them. Now trading cards be fantastic. I think it's the right thing just the right move to make.
It would be nice down the road. We find some. I've always wanted to have an action figure based off of something, so maybe we'll create something that's so catchy it'll get an action figure. This will be like Fritz the Cat or something. You know how Robert Crumb had all these, underground comics things that he worked on, but Fritz the Cat seemed to be the character that caught on because of the movie, and then he killed him off because of the movie and all this other shit. But I can't wait to kill off my characters.
And everybody will hate you for it.
Oh, I put it like this. I'm one of those people, once it's accepted into the public eye, it's everybody's, and I don't think it's, unless it's to tell a great story, I wouldn't really want to kill them off. I kind of like how Lucas treated Han, Luke, and Leia in the EU. They're still alive, so.
Right.
Well, that's a big bonus.
But yeah, folks, just keep on the lookout for that. Spread the word. Get excited. Tell your friends. They'll tell two friends, and so on and so on. So our friend our friend Eden Franklin says, why another point to prove they Batman now? I meant to say
they Batman.
Batman.
They Batman now?
They Batman now.
Yeah, they Batman now. I kind of want that to be like our catchphrase. That should be our signing off for top. We Batman now. Good night. But Eden, I think what you're trying to say is another point to like prove that they own Batman. They can do whatever they want with it. But again, you shouldn't have an adversarial relationship with your audience. Even if you don't call your audience your consumers, you should at least be respectful. It's like, I'm thankful I got this shit. So maybe that's, it's just it's a dick measuring contest, but it's not going to work out when you can't get it up. Salvador, thank you very much for your super chat. He says, who is worse, She-Hulk writer or Carol fucking Baskin that bitch? Carol Baskin, definitely, dude.
Carol Baskin.
You think this Cove situation will prep studios to do more direct to do more direct to streaming movies or same day rentals? See you tomorrow night, Jeff. By the way, folks, I will be pulling triple duty tomorrow night on streams. First off, at 8:30 or 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, I will be on The Boardroom, which is Salvador Itepecuin's place to be reviews. Commander Cody, I believe Raiders of the Lost Flicks. And if I'm missing someone else, I apologize. But they've been longtime listeners of the show. They asked me to come on their show, and I thought, yes, of course. So I'm going to be over there. Then I'll have Fandom Menace tonight, normal time, 10 p.m. Eastern Standard. And then I'll be over on Mindless Entertainment as well. So tomorrow night, you have a lot of opportunities to hear me rant and rave and whatever. So either way, I'm there. But, Sal, to answer your question, and I know Tom's been making a lot of content about this stuff. I think we will get people, depending on how the internet holds. If the internet crashes and everyone's fucked for a while, we're bored in our houses, I say digital or physical media will, people will, buy physical media out of fear and necessity. So I think that this will prep people That happens. That's what I think. But overall, to answer your question directly, no, I don't think we're going to see too much of a change. I think there's so much money invested in these big budget things that you might get more TV shows from like a Disney or a Star Wars or something like that. But I think when you have a $500 million film with marketing, you have to go to the box office and make that kind of money. You can't get away with just, oh, this is a $150 million movie with another $150 million in marketing, and then we're going to just put it on Netflix, unless Netflix is making you a sweetheart deal. Tom, what do you think?
Yeah, again, without getting way into it, I do suggest you check out the video it came up with. I think it was last week. I would not put any money on expecting to see like Wonder Woman or any of these other movies that have not been in theaters yet hitting digital anytime soon. The only world I see that happening in is if we get to this point where this drags out clear through the end of this year and they have to find a way to start making some money back. But otherwise, again, the thing I think that people aren't taking into consideration is all the stuff that is delayed now as far as the films that are supposed to be coming out is going to be taking the place of the productions that are delayed. So, you got to remember that all the stuff that was meant to be out next year at this time isn't going to be ready to be in theaters. So they need something to put in theaters. And the theater association has also spoke out on this, and that's covered in more extent in that video. But the basic bottom line is they said they won't forget that Trolls 2 went to straight to streaming and skipped the theater model. It's not such a big punch to them because that's not a big, huge franchise, but that's their thinly veiled threat to the studios saying that you better not do that to Black Widow or one of these other bigger movies or we're going to have a problem. And he was quick to point out that people like Warner and all the other studios have said they fully intend on releasing their big tentpole movies in theaters still. They still rely on it. The digital platform is not profitable enough yet to sustain an Avengers level movie or anything like that.
Anybody else, Becca, Literature Devil, anything you'd like to add to that? Or
that's pretty much right on the money.
Yeah, I don't think I have anything to add on there.
I mean, and you wouldn't be faulted to be like, well, it makes sense. You rent a movie for $20, it goes straight to video. They're making $20. Yeah, but they're not making the amount of money you would make if 2 or 3 people were going to see it in a theater in a group that are watching it with you in a living room setting kind of thing. There's a big discrepancy there. And then you also have the advertising aspect of it. A movie that doesn't go to theaters and goes straight to video or streaming has a stigma about it too, usually. So there's all those different things that go into this.
Well, another thing too, I think, let's say for some reason the theater chains died forever. I'd say movies would be a much smaller thing. Like you wouldn't have, like the Avengers you would never get an Avengers level thing because it's too expensive, or Star Wars. It'd be like, oh, well, at least we got to see this shit when it was, theaters were still a thing because, it's going to cost the same to produce these movies. CGI is not going to magically get cheaper just because there's no theater. People are still going to get paid. People are going to have unions and things things have to still run behind the scenes. I mean, I've never been on a movie set before, but I'm sure that there are certain Hollywood restrictions and guidelines that these Netflix productions have that a big budget film would have. And some of these Netflix films have big budgets,
Oh yeah.
And it's not crazy to say, I am Dolomite. I mean, Eddie Murphy's a household name, big star, but My Name is Dolomite was a Netflix original thing, but it doesn't look like it's, a small thing.
Yeah, but can you imagine if that movie would have really done that well at theaters? That's the thing. See, that's why Scorsese, I think, made the smart move. You're going to see a lot bigger things like that come to streaming, definitely. Netflix has the money. That's a point where you'll see some things there, but that's still something that's going to take more time for the studios to have the balls to go, yeah, let's take a chance and with Netflix instead of, trying to go for the big bucks in the theaters. Paramount, speaking of again, has been taking some chances more so with Netflix. Sony, I think, is planning on doing some of that too, because we know Beverly Hills Cop 4 is coming straight to Netflix. He-Man is rumored to come straight to Netflix, so we'll see.
I won't see He-Man. Now, if it's on Netflix, I can't not watch it. Christopher Richshot, thank you very much. He says, Cisco, hell no. The actor is known for being open why he played Cisco. If he suddenly turned face and goes the way of Picard, goodbye credibility.
But yeah, for that other stuff though, if you really want a deeper look into that, check out that video. I can't recommend it enough because we really lay it all out there pretty well, I think.
Oh, I recommend all the Midnight's Edge videos, Tom.
Well, thank you.
Even before we ever met, I was watching Midnight's Edge. It was fan four stick coverage, probably. You guys covered that way back, right?
Oh yeah, and I remember seeing you guys comment and stuff here and there too.
Even before we were World Class Bullshitters, my other YouTube name, I would just be watching Midnight's Edge. I was a little heartbroken when you guys teamed up with a YouTuber whose name we won't say on this channel, but didn't stop me from watching the content, just his. But I digress. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah.
But yeah, it's all great stuff, well thought out, spin-free news and analysis. And I think the Andre's Rambo video last year was the one where I was in a Wendy's drive-thru, and I watched that video. I was like, yeah, and like people looked at me because there was just some point he made a political movie, and I just was like moved to scream in a fucking drive-thru, like yeah, and whatever, good stuff, man.
No, that's a good video. That I think that if you someone you're talking about, or no, maybe it was a video after that, but he also was the one to figure out that more women went to see Rambo opening weekend than went to see Charlie's Angels.
I wonder why.
Saw Rambo.
Wonder why. Maybe it has something to do with the fact that Rambo kind of starred a very strong, masculine, powerful man.
Same reason Sons of Aquamanarchy was big.
Yeah.
That was about superheroes?
Mm-hmm. Sure.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, Mecca didn't go see that for the superhero stuff, that's for sure.
You didn't?
Yeah, the guy from Stargate Atlantis was in it, and he had his shirt off for the whole time.
And he was wet.
Oh, yeah. What? I can't help it. I did not go to see that movie because it was a superhero movie.
I know you didn't.
So, did you guys hear the super chat from our friend Christopher Richshot about Captain Sisko?
Yeah, the one where he loses all credibility if he comes back to Star Trek, or does a Picard, or pulls a Picard.
Yeah, okay. I just was making sure because, like I said, for
Yeah.
the folks out there, if you're wondering why sometimes we talk into each other, there's just internet issues right now. So I just didn't want anyone to. I didn't want Christopher to think, "Hey, we didn't read his shit or care." So, thank you, Christopher. Our friend Matt G sends in a unicorn sticker. Thank you very much, Matt G. Raging Rhino, thank you very much again. Sends in super chat and a message, but still appreciated. Jacob Kaiju says, we would have to go back to dial-up. Please don't joke about that because dial-up is a nightmare. We all are old enough to remember dial-up here. Dial-up is like, I hear those sounds. Sometimes people go, oh, I get nostalgic for the dial-up sound. I cringe. Fucking worst. If you guys have any dial-up nightmare stories in the chat, let me know. I remember trying to download music on dial-up. It was not effective.
You mean like using the internet or using the phone? It had to be a choice.
Mom, get out the phone. I'm using the internet.
You couldn't call my Aunt Pat for months because when they first got an internet connection, my cousin was always on the internet. They had to get a second phone line installed so he could use the internet and they could use the phone. The funny thing is, though, nowadays it's like, oh, I'm going to use my smartphone on the internet while I'm making a call, and the thing's only about the size of half a deck of cards. So technology has evolved. I couldn't imagine going back. Maybe we just have to get that 5G coverage that Verizon advertises all the time.
Get the free Disney Plus.
That's the only way I'm going to have Disney Plus. Speaking of Disney, real quick, have you guys been seeing the articles popping up about how much money Disney is losing per day?
I haven't actually seen that, but I heard it's a lot.
I heard it's in the millions. I keep finding conflicting sources. Sometimes I've seen shit high as $20 million. Other things I've seen 450,000. But either way, it's not good to lose any kind of money on a massive scale day after day after day.
I think with the parks being closed is that bigger number. I'm trying to say. Blech.
Yeah, because I'm looking at this Disney food blog. Obviously, that's not a reputable source, but I mean, they have some numbers broken down, and it's talking about the $500 million estimate. They're figuring that's how much they're going to lose, and they break it down, and it says Disney earned $7 billion in admission revenue, and they drew 157 million visitors worldwide the same year. This is all 2018's information. That brings an average of $19.6 million per day. So they might be losing out on that much per day.
Plus paying out to employees. So I think you got to add all that shit up.
What do you think? I mean, do you think with Disney has a ton of money in cash reserves, or no, Disney has money. We're not acting like Disney's going out of business.
Right.
Do you think this will cause Disney to spend, I guess more judiciously is the right way to say it? They're like, they weren't going to buy up any more film studios. I guess they'd become a monopoly if that was the case. But do you think this is going to make them second guess taking some risks, and they're just going to double down on the safe, samey old bullshit, and it's going to hurt us even more?
I'm not sure on that part. See, here's the thing. I think we'll see them sell off a few things before they get too in deep. Like, look at things like the Muppets that they don't do anything with. And they haven't known what to do with them. They've had one success with the Muppets, and that's it. So they might sell off some things like that to stay afloat for a little bit. But as far as like actually change, if your question is like if they'll change, you know, their SJW kind of mentality, I think we kind of already seen a little bit of a walk back with Marvel. But I don't know about Star Wars. I mean, I know the future is probably within Filoni and Favreau, but we'll have to wait and see on that part. Yeah, I don't know. The thing is, I'm not so worried about Disney. That's the point you brought up. They're going to have the money to weather this. It's the smaller companies. It's the everything else down the line that's going to have more issues. You know what I mean? Like, I'd be more worried about, you know, if we're going to talk entertainment, just the smaller, more boutique companies are probably going to be, you know, the first to go, and then or get bought up, you know, and soaked up by these other bigger companies. And Disney's going to be fine. You know,
I just was, you know, I read that and I was blown away by that number. But people are saying Clownfish TV says $23 million a day, and eventually
it's a lot. But they've got insurances, they've got other revenues of money too, I'm sure.
I got an email from Universal Studios because I bought a pass the Wednesday before they closed, and I went the Thursday before they closed, and they're like, didn't they say they're gonna refund the difference or extend the pass?
They're extending the pass for the number of days.
Okay, so they're gonna extend the pass, so we're at what, like week 2 or week 3 now, right? 2. So we're gonna get just bonus weeks like that. But yeah, it's weird. The one thing I do wonder that no one really seems to be talking about is when will people trust going out and doing these things, if that makes sense, you know? Maybe the things are going to be open, but are they going to take the risk? You know, I don't want movie theaters to get hit. I do enjoy going to a theater and watching a movie with a big group of people. How many people are going to be afraid to go out and take that chance? For example, whenever Black Widow hits, let's say Disney picks August 19th. Let's just say that's a Friday. And everyone's like, okay. But then you still have people that are like, I don't know. You know, especially like families with little kids, you know, because they're like, what happens? You know, what if it gets worse? This, that, and the other. Do you think that people are taking that into account?
I think they'll probably soft. I get what you're saying. It would be like exciting. And I just actually read an article just before we went live here about how they're expecting, once this is all over, for things like theaters and sports events and concerts to have like record attendance, because people are just going to want to get the fuck out. You know? Basically was the short version of it. So it may be a slow crawl to get there, but once everybody does, I think it's going to be a big deal. So maybe they'll release some smaller level stuff just to test the waters, you know, dip the toe in to see if people are going to be ready to get out. But I'm sure once it's quote unquote safe, you'll have Trump and everybody else out there going, get the hell out of your houses, go spend some money, go do some, you know, get out of the house, do something. You know, I'm sure that's what'll happen. It'll take a little bit for some people to feel safe, I'm sure. Once though you get enough reports out there that everything's calmed down and nobody's being reinfected or anything like that, then things will probably kick back into motion, I think. And we'll need things like that. Sorry.
I was gonna say, I just know that one day out with a bunch of traffic and people everywhere, I'm gonna go, yep, everything's back to normal, and just forget this whole thing.
Yeah, hopefully that'll be what happens someday. I mean, fingers crossed. It's not too long from now. I mean, nobody hopes this goes on forever. And like Comics Division was bringing up in the chat, and we're talking a little bit about, it's going to be like things like GameStop, the comic book stores, like we brought up before. All these kind of things, these ancillary things that we kind of take for granted in a way. They're going to probably disappear. I mean, we may lose some things that we never really stop to think too much about when this is all said and done. But things like McDonald's, most of the theater chains, big studios, all that kind of stuff, all those are going to be fine. Walmarts are going to be fine. It's the smaller companies. It's the smaller mom and pop shops. So hopefully people can get through these times that can't afford to get to deal with this kind of a thing. You know what I mean?
Oh, yeah. By the way, Comics Division, you're making all these great points. If you'd like to come on the show, just shoot us a message or Tom a message.
I can send it to him. I didn't know if we were getting close to being done now, but
I meant for like next week. If
we can definitely bring him on next week if he's not busy. Yeah,
be a guest because he seems to be here for the show and knows all the topics. So we'd love to have you on.
Absolutely.
Let's see. Jury Nitpicker, thank you very much. Hail, High Council. TP wars are a real thing. The fandom menace is like the pick of my girl at home while I fight in the front lines. Thank God for you guys. Have you guys seen that meme pop up online? It's like a soldier during World War II laying in his bunk, and he's got like a picture of some like pinup model, and he's like, what he's fighting for. And then nowadays it's like a newer soldier, and he's got like a video game character on his wall and something else.
Yeah.
Just meant to be like a little parody of that. And I thought, times have changed, but I'm still, there's people out there fighting. So thank you. But yeah, the toilet paper wars, we're lucky that I got to avoid the toilet paper wars by luck. Went literally like 2 days before this all broke down.
I just got through the third roll of toilet paper that I had left when all this shit went down. So I'm not worried.
People are it's gonna be weird too in the future. People are gonna respect toilet paper so much more. They're like, oh my God, there was that time when we didn't have it and it was the worst.
I don't go through it enough. I've got so much now because, I've had 2 people bring me some out of panic. And I literally just got, and that's what I was saying, the stuff I had bought in before all this went down, like I just finally finished that package just recently. So I'm like, I'm basically like a single guy with a son who's never around. So he's an 18-year-old who has his own life. So,
oh, okay.
Yeah.
Our building has taken up like supplies in case you're in need, and somebody donated toilet paper, and we were both like, that's very generous.
No, if like one of my neighbors who isn't crazy squirrel lady next door anyway really needs some toilet paper and they knock on my door, I'd have plenty to give away. So
let's see, our friend
fuck crazy squirrel lady.
We luckily don't have any crazy squirrel ladies in the apartment.
Long story. She's
listening,
She probably is, if not outside my window right now. I'm not kidding.
Tell me off there. Our friend Joey Bryant says, Hail, High Council. What is your favorite Batman arc? My favorite is Batman versus Aliens. Literature Devil. I'm reading your name. Why did I fucking call? Anyway, Literature Devil, do you have a favorite Batman story arc?
There's some of I really like what do you mean by story arc? Because there's one that I really like by Neil Gaiman called Whatever Happened to the Cape Crusader. But recently, I also really like the Dark Knight Returns by the Frank Miller story.
Oh yeah.
And but recently I've actually been enjoying the Court of Owls one. I think it was Scott Snyder or something like that. Yeah, I'm really enjoying his take on Batman. I'm really enjoying the Court of Owls. I really enjoyed the Death of the Family. Those were actually pretty entertaining Batman stories.
Are you going to continue to read into like Zero Year and all that stuff?
Yeah, I'm actually started Zero Year the other day.
Okay. That one kind of lost me. I was buying every book, but I was just like, I think I stopped buying the main Batman title that he wrote and Greg Capullo drew because I was like, I just don't like this. But I mean, either way, the ones you listed earlier, I agree with you. I think they are fantastic. Tom, do you have a favorite Batman story arc?
If you mean arc within the actual comics, I never really got into the comics themselves proper too much. But one I remember besides, I guess there's kind of 2 that really stick out. After, the 89 movie was announced and the trailer and all that stuff, and everybody was getting into Dark Batman, and I seen like some making about it on TV on HBO or something like that before the movie came out, and they said that, Tim Burton took a lot of inspiration from Dark Knight Returns, the Miller story, and The Killing Joke. Mm-hmm. So I went to the library and I got those books, the graphic novels, and they just blew my fucking mind because I didn't realize. I mean, to me at that point, Batman was Zap Zowie and G Golly Batman shit. Little chum, that kind of. I had no fucking clue that there was a world of Batman like that. So it just really kind of fucked with my head. I mean, not in a bad way at all, but you know what I mean.
Oh yeah, I remember my first time. Mecca, do you have a favorite Batman story arc?
Well, clearly it's going to be Gotham High.
Of course.
No, not really. No.
I say I don't think she's ever really read any, but I would bet, guessing from Mecca, she probably likes something like The Killing Joke or The Long Halloween, probably.
I know it probably.
Hush.
I probably give that one a shot. Yeah.
Hush would probably be another one she might like. That was just brought up in the chat.
Killing Joke is fantastic.
Yeah, you would really like. You'd probably if you want to get into like a graphic novel and just to kind of, and it's not a long read, just to check it out. The Killing Joke is one that you would really kind of probably dig because it's not even really a Batman story, and it's a horrific fucking tale. But what's really fucked up about it is the Joker makes Batman smile and laugh at the end of the story too. It's fucked up. And what he does in the book is really fucked up too. It's a messed up fucking situation. But yeah, they actually did an animated version of it, but I don't suggest watching it because they stretched it into a 90-minute movie for no good reason.
And the fact that the Killing Joke kind of incurred the ire of the SJW weirdos. They're like, what you did to Batgirl was horrible because she gets horribly injured in that book, and because she's a woman. All the HW weirdos said, "Oh, you can't do that. You can't do that to women." So what they did was that they made it more justifiable by adding in an extra little section of animation in the Killing Joke animated show. It was awful. It was just it was cringy. It was just terrible.
Dude, I paid to see it in theaters, so.
Ugh. Well, see, here's the stupid part I said they should have done. They should have just made it a short film and either put it before Batman v Superman or just put it on the Blu-ray.
You know, I like that. I've actually said that to my friends off air. Why wouldn't you put an animated, like with Marvel, I've said it many times, why not introduce people to some of these like more obscure characters with a cartoon, a short, Adam Warlock or something like that. Or if it's like, you want to get people excited for the X-Men, even though you don't really need that. I would love to go to a Marvel movie and they're like, hey, X-Men's coming. Well, here's an old episode of the animated series on a fucking giant screen or just something like small like that. But I would love Warner Brothers Animation to take up smaller stories like they did a DC Showcase animated Blu-ray maybe 10 years ago at this point, but they had small little stories. I think one was the Spectre, one was Dead Man. Just put those in front of
They did one with Superman and the Atom, and it had a couple other ones on there too. I know what you're talking about. Yeah,
like something like that would be so fun.
Black Adam, not the Atom. Sorry,
I remember that one because look, I love The Rock, but I don't think Black Adam's going to be a movie that I care about.
It'll probably wind up being Shazam 2 if they make one. Kind of, it'll be. I don't know. We'll see.
His name's on the first Shazam movie.
It is because he's one of the executive producers or whatever, isn't it?
Yeah. To answer your question, Joey, my personal favorite Batman stories are Batman Year One. I do enjoy Batman.
That's a good one.
Dark Knight Returns. I like The Killing Joke. What other Batman story I really love? I liked The Court of Owls quite a bit. I really liked the Flashpoint miniseries of Batman, the Thomas Wayne Batman stuff as well. So, and then of course the classic stuff is fun. I don't really like Silver Age Batman or Bronze Age. I mean, Bronze Age Batman is not only Neil Adams, Danny O'Neill, so I do like that shit. But realistically, like 80s Batman on is kind of my jam. Nightfall, the one where he gets his back broken, not so much.
The best part about Batman and to a point Superman is they work so well in graphic novel form because most of us know the characters, and that's the problem with this Gotham High thing, and that's why they're doing it. But I really, don't understand why they're doing this.
Drury Nitpicker, thank you very much. He says, so Clayface's origin story is now growing up with bad acne. Pretty much. They've taken away the story of that. I remember in the cartoon, I don't know, Literature Devil, if you've watched a lot of Batman the Animated Series, but where he has that
I have it all. Cream. Yeah, he's a facial cream, and he's an actor, and he turns him into this weird clay face thing, this weird thing made of living clay.
And I think his name's Matt Hagen, might be the character's name. But
sounds right.
It's so... See, that was the beauty of all Batman stuff, especially like when comic book stuff was actually quality entertainment. You felt sympathetic for the villains. Like when Spider-Man 2, you felt bad that Doc Ock, became this monster. You know that there was another side of Norman who was conflicted with doing the terrible things. I didn't kill him, the Goblin did, and all that stuff. You felt for these characters. All the Batman the Animated Series people, like even Catwoman. She was trying to rescue all those animals. Unlike Joe Exotic, and Carol Baskin. But
you need to bring back Baby Doll. Baby Doll was really sympathetic in the Batman the Animated Series.
That was so sad.
Free Joe Exotic.
I should make that shirt. No, but Baby Doll was the saddest one ever because she was that character on TV, and then she never grew up, but everyone else did it. I guess I wonder how somebody like a Gary Coleman or an Emmanuel Lewis would have felt watching that. Because that was kind of hit close to home with them.
And she was an actor too, and she always wanted to make a serious role. And she finally got a serious role in a Shakespearean play, and everyone just laughed at her because she looks like a kid.
Yeah.
And then everyone just laughed her off the stage, and she went insane.
That was she was created for the series. Somebody said she's an SJW. I only know her from that one episode, so.
That episode had one of my favorite endings of all time, and in that series, anyway, where she's like she's trying to find and fight Batman in that Hall of Mirrors.
Yeah,
and she's just shooting, and she just finds herself, and she just shoots herself in the mirror, and just continues to fire until she runs out of bullets. Just crying away because all the tragedy of her life. Because it's not everyone else she hates; it's the fact that she's just stuck in this body that she can't really get out of.
And that's the thing about those 90s Batman and Superman series. They paid homage to the original. They didn't change anything to the point where you're scratching your head going, why the fuck did they do that? And they just seem timeless, and they feel timeless. Like, you can pop them in, because you just said this like last week, didn't you, Jeff? Like, you watch them all the time when you're just cooking and shit just because,
Oh, yeah. It's the best cartoon ever made.
And they look so beautiful now on Blu-ray that I hope kids get into them.
I do too, because Batman is just a classic. Batman doesn't age.
Well, it was the first time they really got the character, and even though it can't be as dark as some of us would probably like our Batman to be, it's true to the character completely.
I would prefer. I like dark Batman, but I don't like. It's like Punisher. I like the Punisher, but Punisher Max isn't necessarily my favorite version of the Punisher. I can get behind the dark, gritty stuff, but I don't need everything to be a bloodbath. And with Batman, I don't need him breaking necks and breaking kneecaps every 5 minutes. I want swashbuckling, high adventure Batman. The animated series, if somebody said, Jeff, you have the power and unlimited budget to make a Batman film, what is it? We're just making Batman the Animated Series as a live action film. Not necessarily a one-to-one story to, movie to episode type of thing, but some more costume design and also that feel, that high action.
The noir, the detective, the world's best. And that's what Gary and I said many a time. If DC just get off their ass, Batman, you can do it. It'd be the #1 show on TV right now. If you did a Batman series in the vein of the animated series, where you took it seriously and you just paid tribute to the character like you should, everybody in the world would love that show.
Yeah.
I mean, it's fucking Batman. It'd be cheap to make, too.
Yeah, because the suit, look, we have all these stupid CW shows. And if you like the CW shows, I'm not calling you stupid, but you have all these CW shows that have a budget that can necessitate the Flash running at high speeds, fighting the shark guy, all this stuff. You can put that on TV. Batman, you don't need a $200 million budget to make a good Batman movie. You can build sets. You can film. I mean, Gotham was a thing. You could put Batman in that world, just change it up.
Film it in Toronto.
Yeah. Anywhere you want it to be. Literature Devil, what are your thoughts on Batman Mask of the Phantasm as a film?
That was pretty good. It was a fitting follow-up to the animated series. I actually own that one. I actually own that on physical media. It was pretty good, as far as I remember.
Yeah,
I actually have 2 copies of it.
So do I. I got it
because I got the Blu-ray, and then I got it in the box set for the series.
Same as me, dude. Exactly the same as me. But that's okay. I wanted to pick up the Phantasm. There's these high-end, not high-end, they're like $26, but they're these DC vinyl figures that came out. Well, they're not. I don't know if they're made up, but they're Batman the Animated Series and Superman, and I picked up a handful of them, and I just never got the Phantasm, but I like the character. And the best thing ever was that back in 92 or 3 when it came out in theaters, Kenner fucking released the action figure without the mask and spoiled the twist. So I think that's pretty funny that they screwed that up. Baptist702, thank you very much for super chat. He says, I think you missed my super chat. I did not. I saw one that popped up, and you were the very next one because you asked me about the Fox merger, and you were talking about Dr. Alpha. But I sure 100% read it, but thank you for reminding me just in case. By the way, if TLJ Screwjob is out in the chat, I tweeted about your super chat that you sent at the last minute of our podcast this week, and I will reread it again at the opening of the show for you. I don't want you to think I forgot about you, but it came in right at the end, and I tweeted about it. I even put it on our Facebook page, and I gave you an answer. So thank you very much. Hopefully you're still out there. Jacob Kaiju, bless you, says, damn, Bruce Wayne looks like a girl there. Bruce Wayne looks like a girl there.
Yeah, there was even people commenting on the scene and the one shot where in the trailer where they're kissing, where at first they thought it was Catwoman kissing another girl.
That's why I thought it was really, really funny, because they've done this Tumblr art for so long where they made all these female characters look exactly like men for so long. Bruce Wayne just looks like another female character from a Tumblr artist.
Dude, you're 100% right. I don't know. Okay, I'll ask you the question. As a fan of comic books, who are some of your favorite artists of all time?
I wasn't really into artists. I was really into writers.
Okay.
But my favorite writers are, of course, Neil Gaiman and Alan Moore. However you feel about them, their stories are they're masters of their craft. So I like the way they construct things, and I really like Neil Gaiman. I'll go to bat for Neil Gaiman. Alan Moore is kind of wacky though.
Well, the only thing is, the point I was going to make though is I really liked when the men were heroic, even if they were just stereotypically buff, whatever, chiseled chins.
Yeah. Everybody does. Everybody does. They're right from the era of the pulp fictions. The pulp hero. Everyone likes this masculine, charismatic hero who goes in and does the right thing when no one else can. Everyone loves that.
Yeah. You should. We should have you back, and I want you to meet up with this guy named Razorfist who's big into pulp characters. That would be.
I really like Razorfist. I've tried to get on stream with him, but I don't think he notices me. I'm too insignificant still, I guess. But yeah, I really like Razorfist since I've learned that he likes the pulps, and he introduced me to Elric Mel de Monet, and that was a pretty good adventure, I have to say.
Do you want me to try to make that happen?
That'd be interesting. That'd be interesting.
And he's been on our show multiple times.
Okay.
So
yeah, awesome.
But yeah, I think that'd be a lot of fun. Maybe I'd have to read up on some shit. But yeah, like I said, I'm gonna follow you on Twitter. We're gonna be talking about the cards stuff behind the scenes, and I'll try to make that happen. Let's see. We also have our friend Uncultured Barbarian who says the last time that I could write a comic. Last time I said I would write a comic called Pumpkin-Headed Dipshits that would be better than the stuff coming from Marvel and DC. Didn't know they would continuously make it easier for me. Down the road, I think I'm just going to make the dumbest comic book possible and see if it's better than what Marvel and DC put out. We'll see if we can make it happen.
There's something really basic, like just go back to the roots of comics and just give the audience a very strong masculine superhero who fights crime, and that's it. Nothing subversive, just hero who fights crime. Which you do really well.
I agree. Have you ever read Mr. A?
No, I don't think I have.
He's the inspiration for Rorschach from Watchmen. He's created by Steve Ditko. Because Steve Ditko was, I think the term is objectivist, or an objectivist. He followed Ayn Rand's school of thought and all that stuff. And that was one of the reasons that he kind of went his own way in comics, so hard-nosed, black or white, no gray area. Mr. A used to carry a card, black and white, good or evil, and you would die accordingly. But I think you should, if you're interested in finding out about like the origins of Rorschach, you might like the character. I think it's pretty interesting to see when a new character evolves from something like that.
That does sound pretty interesting.
I mean, the guy created Spider-Man, so the art's going to be fun to look at. Jacob Kaiju, thank you very much. He says you could cut that chin or glass with that chin. Yeah, we saw Bruce Wayne looking pretty pointy. I mean, that chin, holy shit. Let's look at him again. There we go. Look at that. Substance is harder than diamond, Tom. Bruce Wayne's chin. By the way, I know it's kind of mean, but people called him Bruce Wang, and I've kind of chuckled many times for both reasons.
Yeah, we've been guilty of it.
Yeah, it's fucking funny to me. I have no.
We even have Rod doing fucking George Takei's voice for Uncle Alfred.
Oh my!
Oh my!
I thought that was a girl at first on the left, like just an ugly fat girl.
Mecca, I did too. It's getting harder to tell what I'm looking at times.
I think they're trying to emulate anime a lot because the anime is selling or manga is selling, but they don't know how to use the tropes of manga and anime the way that the Japanese creators do. It's kind of pick and choose what they like from anime and manga, and it's kind of translated over to Western comics without knowing how exactly they work or how to use them, and so it just falls flat every single time.
Agreed. It's like when you try to emulate your favorite artist, and you're like, you look like a cheap interpretation of them or a cheap copycat. I don't really want that. I want the real thing. Like that meme, I want the Justice League. The mom says we have Justice League at home, and then they show like a really shitty ripoff of it. Like that's what this is. Like I want manga. Well, we have manga at DC, and this is it. And it's like, no, it's not.
We have manga light, diet manga.
Just 1 calorie, not manga enough. Let's see. We also have our friend Jacob Kaiju who says a Static Shock movie would be awesome, especially if it was based on the cartoon. Sign me up.
That would be awesome. That would be awesome. I really like the cartoon of Static Shock. It's one of my favorites to this day.
I used to watch it every Saturday. It was on Kids WB. I mean, I don't know exactly how old you are, but like at least my age group, I feel like we grew up in a really awesome time that if you didn't have cable, you still had excellent cartoons and TV shows to watch on the weekends. Like you weren't really at a loss. Yeah, you didn't. I mean, we had Nickelodeon later and went to people's houses that had, my grandma had it, but like didn't matter. You had Static Shock, Batman, Power Rangers, X-Men, everything on Saturdays was kick-ass.
There's Saturday morning cartoons. They still had Saturday morning cartoons. That was fantastic. I'll always love Saturday morning cartoons.
Yeah, I wouldn't mind getting up at the crack of dawn with a bowl of cereal to watch Eek the Cat or anything that was on. Even the crappy shows that I didn't like, I would just watch because it was like, nothing but cartoons for hours and hours on end. And the commercials were great too. Joey Bryant says, Gear is my spirit animal. I'm assuming you mean Gear is the milestone character that you consider your spirit animal. I have to check that one out because like I said, I know the character Static Shock, and that's about it. Let's see. Gear from Milestone Comics. Okay. Hey, okay, there we go. Oh, Richie, right? That's his friend's name on Static Shock. And then he couldn't be friends with him because his dad was a racist or some shit like that. I remember that one. Hit hard.
I think in the original comic book that Richie was supposed to be gay, and they changed it. They changed it for the cartoon show.
Nowadays, everyone would freak out.
Yeah, it's a big no-no. Make a gay character straight. That would be a huge deal now.
Yeah, people are like, what's wrong with the gay characters? And then you'd have the whole whatever. It would get weird. It would definitely get weird to have that.
Remember when they made them change Bruce Banner to David Banner because Bruce sounded too gay?
I do. Thanks to Stan Lee. I've heard it from the story from the mouth of Stan Lee. So
I only knew about 2 Bruces who were gay, so I don't understand why they thought that was a big deal.
Don't you love the 70s?
I don't know. I was just making that shit up. He never said that.
I know. Uncultured Barbarian, thank you. He says, if you need something to watch, Drive is on Prime. Not the crappy new movie, but the one from 97 with Kadeem Hardison and Mark Dacascos, a.k.a. the guy from Iron Chef America. Or John Wick 3.
I was around during the 60s, and we fucked everything that moved.
Excelsior.
Uncultured
Barbarian, I love that you call Drive with Ryan Gosling crappy. I've never seen it, but I know a lot of people love it. But it looks like it's going to be, this cool heist driver guy with the dragon jacket and all this stuff. And apparently it's something else and super violent. So I haven't watched it. Have you seen it?
Yeah.
You like it?
It's good.
But I am looking for.
Why isn't Jesse just on these with you? I gotta.
These people will be confused when her voice comes out of his picture.
They'd be like, Jeff, your voice has changed. It's so much deeper now.
That'd be awesome.
Thank you, though, Uncultured Barbarian. I'll check it out. I finished Tiger King, so I gotta watch something.
Oh, Tiger King.
I know. We're gonna be talking about Tiger King on Mindless Entertainment. Did you put the link up yet in the chat?
Yeah.
Okay.
Have you watched that at all yet, Mecca?
No. When do I have time?
I know. I had to make time for this shit. I lost sleep just to watch it.
It's worth every minute.
I'll have to try and figure out a time to watch it.
Give it a shot. You don't dig it. You don't dig it. But it's all fucking true. So that's all I can say.
Yeah. Let's see. I gotta watch this Joe Rogan thing. Anyway, Palmer, thank you very much. Does Asian Bruce Wayne eat bat burgers?
Oh,
You sound like Andrew Dice Clay right there for a second, dude.
too soon.
He was funny.
Isn't he in Vegas now?
What?
Isn't he doing like a stay in Vegas? Well, I mean, everything's shut down right at the moment, but I mean, wasn't he at Vegas doing a stay in Vegas, I thought?
He might have been. I don't know. I do know that Jesse knows his son or met his son. She knows his son.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. She showed me a picture of, because he has two sons, one that looks like him and one
Yeah.
but he was doing stand-up.
That's cool.
There you go, folks. If you want to know what Tiger King is, you gotta watch it.
Oh, God.
It's crazy. It's a real-life train wreck, and you're gonna love it. Uncultured Barbarian says Asian Batman versus the Italian Spider-Man. Book it. That's fine. Can we get Turkish Star Wars thrown in there too? Uncultured Barbarian. Have you guys seen Turkish Star Wars?
Yeah, well, I've seen clips of it, yeah.
I've heard of it and seen clips, yeah.
I didn't even know there was a Turkish Star Wars, but that sounds awesome because I've seen all these foreign like reinterpretations of movies, and they're always great.
I love like the one is like Indian Superman and Spider Girl. There's a couple other good ones too,
yeah. Literature Devil, Turkish Star Wars is actually a Turkish, like, it's almost like low-grade Power Ranger fighting, but then they cut in clips of Star Wars and use the Raiders of the Lost Ark theme during fight scenes. So the Raiders, it's ridiculous.
Awesome. It's very entertaining sounding.
I used to watch that in high school back on Google Video. If you're looking for it, it's online somewhere. Benito Martinez, thank you very much for your super chat. He says, didn't Paris Hilton do porn first? Yes, she did. She did. That was a very popular video in the early thousands. I think she said, never mind.
Well, you can use that term loosely. It was more of a sex video.
Yeah.
Well, that was kind of like the thing. That was like you got famous by making a sex video or being a teen mom on MTV. And then from there you would graduate to pop culture influencer, which then just became Twitter influencer or whatever, social media influencer.
If I became one of those, people would be like, what is your review? It was good. Go watch it. That'd be it. I wouldn't try to make myself sound smarter than, I am. But no, she did do that. And Kim Kardashian took that approach. I don't think that approach works anymore, though.
Well, that other chick did it too, the teen mom.
Farrah Abrams?
Yeah.
I didn't watch that one. I don't even know who the hell she is. She's not a celebrity to me, so. And again, neither is Kim Kardashian. Her dad was a famous. That's it. That's all they ever did as a family. And now they're on reality TV shows. Matt G, thank you very much. He sends in a slice of pie as a super sticker. I'm gonna take that pie and rub it in Ethan's face that I get the pie and he doesn't. So I'm just joking. Wes Moody Webcast, thank you very much. He says, hail BSers. Now that iPicard is a synth, do you think Synthanol will get him drunk? Synthetic alcohol, synthetic commanders. Mecca, this sounds like something would be perfect for you to answer.
Yes. And then they will go around lecturing him on how he should never drink alcohol because it's only for L people, like 7 of 9 is, from the alphabet community.
So she wasn't gay on, is it Voyager, right? She
was very straight on Voyager.
No, she always leaned more heterosexual on Voyager.
Yeah.
Yeah, like I'll never tell the audience that I'm this huge Star Trek fan that I know everything. I just know that she fought the Rock once, and that's it. And I remember it was on UP. So, like I said, I always try to be honest with everybody about everything. Star Wars, I know my shit. Comics, I know my shit. Star Trek, Doctor Who, Game of Thrones, don't know it. That's why we never make the content here. Sorry, guys. I don't know it as much as everyone else. So that's why I deferred that to Mecca. But Wes Moody, I'm gonna go with because Mecca's the expert. Richard Devil knows his shit too. So apparently Tom's mic is so bad he had to mute himself.
I don't like my mic.
Uncultured Barbarian, thank you. He says, can't wait for your SJW squad versus Terminegro. So the fun thing is, Uncultured Barbarian, that Marvel used to have these team cards that would pop up. So there will be like subsets of teams. So you might see like an SJW squad card. I'm just using quotations because that won't be their name, but like you'll see a team card and like a thing like that. So Terminegro, I don't know if I'll put him in this deck, but one day down the road, we'll make something related to him for the World Class Bullshitters show, because that was like an old joke, and I loved so much with Dion. It's so fun. So just be on the lookout for that, man. Fuck it. If we don't care if nothing's taboo, we're having fun. Dick's Picks, great name, says brand name for cards, Social Justice League, like Batman. They can use a spotlight to virtue signal. Just an idea. Stay safe and thank you. I will take that into consideration. Social Justice League was something that I had talked about, because I asked Jessie if she liked that or Social Justice Warriors. The only reason I was sticking with Social Justice Warriors for now is because the SJW looks good in the top hand corner, but I do like the idea of the Social Justice League. I have a friend who's a lawyer who always explains to me the subtleties of copyright with one word differences. You have to be careful, but I do like the virtue signal. And I think that's a fantastic concept, Dick's Picks. And I also like your screen name. So thank you very much. And we will stay safe. Staying indoors 99% of the time, except to go get my Uber Eats. Tom, did you see that Facebook post where I said the guy recognized me at the door? It was weird.
That was really cool.
He's like, Jeff of World Class Bullshitters. I'm like, yeah. He's like, I'm so-and-so. I listen. And I'm like, wait, I know your screen name. And he was the nicest dude in the world. It was just so surreal that the Uber Eats dude was like, I know you. Have fun, man. Be safe. And was super nice. So, small world. 007 Cloud says, F-dat B down in Florida. Oh, you mean that bitch Carol Baskin? Thank you, 007 Cloud. You definitely know about Joey Cloud. Bells Nichols says, dudes, I remember party lines when comic books were all we had. Do you remember, Tom, I don't know if you've ever seen the footage of lines out the door when Todd McFarlane would go sign comic books, or when Spawn launched, or any of the other Image books launched?
Oh, yeah, I vaguely remember that. I mean, I remember Death of Superman being a big deal. Shit like that. It used to be, we kind of talked about this on one of the, I think it was on the main channel yesterday, or one of the other podcasts, I can't remember now, but yeah, I think it was, yeah, because like in the 90s there was a boom, right? There was a bubble. Yeah. There was a baseline, though, before that bubble that sustained the comic industry for many, many, many years. And then once that bubble got big and burst, everything just kind of went back to that main line. The problem is they've been dipping below that main line for so long that there is no bubble to burst. There's no way to get out of this other than trying to dig your way out at this point. And I think that's just too far gone. And this pandemic is just going to add to and the comics division said the same thing to earlier. And that's kind of what led me down that other thing was, the comic shops and all that shit's going to close. And so where are the books going to go?
And the sucky part is a lot of these stores have to pay, like, I think it's asset tax or whatever on their back stock. So the only reason I'm bringing this up is because my friend that runs a comic book shop, he accidentally ordered 400 copies of Batman and Robin instead of 40 copies. And so 400 copies of this book showed up from like 2011, maybe 2010. The Frank Quitely, I think Grant Morrison wrote it.
Ouch.
But he was stuck with all these books, and he's like paying tax on those books that are just sitting in the basement. So, like I said, we can laugh about the comic book industry and the collapse, but it's the people that own the shops that get hurt. And those are the people I have all the sympathy in the world for. Like, I want all those people, because your average comic book shop owner is not rich. They do it because they love the craft, or they're just doing okay, or they're doing fine, but they have a mortgage and a family and all these other things and responsibilities. So, you cut off somebody's livelihood, their whole life shuts down. It sucks. Gray Ghost, great name for this show, says, anyone excited to see what DC does with Clark, Lex, and Lois when Metropolis High comes to town for the big football game in the Gotham High trade paperback?
Don't give them any ideas, because they're not that clever, and now they're going to steal that.
I think that Gotham High is too lame for football, and it would just, I'm not knocking it, but I think they would have a soccer game at Gotham High. I don't think the kids at Gotham High could handle contact sports. So.
It's not diverse enough.
Not diverse enough.
Gotham High football rules.
Bobby James says, do you think anything will change when the stimulus hits? In terms of comics, no. I think DC actually said, Literature Devil, you may have seen the article, DC has canceled the tomorrow's slate. No books are coming out tomorrow.
I saw that.
Which is kind
I think they're done. I think the comic book industry is pretty. If they're not done yet, they're pretty close to being done.
Which is, that's terrible. That's all I can say. It's terrible. There are so many great people out there that are going to get hosed. I know we all joke and laugh about, the SJWs are going to get what they deserve. Look what they did. But think of all the people that actually, like a lot of the artists that don't have those political views that are just doing a job. Or you have these writers who are really pumping out great stuff that, haven't had their great hit yet. Literature W talked about Grant Morrison. No, yeah, you brought up not Grant Morrison. You like Neil Gaiman and Alan Moore. What if we were on the cusp of like a Sandman or something? The industry collapsed.
Yeah, that's the terrible part about it. But the thing is, it's not our fault. It's the fault of the SJWs who brought the industry to this time and place. How desperate it is, and it's ultimately on their heads. We for years wanted to save the ship of the comic book industry. We told them that's how Comicsgate began. In fact, was that it began as a please stop doing this nonsense. We don't want to buy these comic books you're pumping out. And they called us istophobes and chain blocked us and this pretty much brushed us off for an audience that doesn't even pay for their stuff. And then what can you do after years and years and years? So Comicsgate became a publishing force in and of itself. But the thing is, it wasn't the fault of the fans. It wasn't the fault of the customer. It was ultimately the fault of the people operating it. They refused to take a stand. They refused to either take a stand or they refused to listen to the fans. And now we've done our part. We've tried so long to save this industry by telling them exactly what we wanted, and they just refuse to listen. So it's all or nothing now. I mean, that's tragedy. It's a tragedy if we got like a new Sandman, a new Watchmen, or we were on the verge of a new Sandman, a new Watchmen. Yeah, it's a tragedy. It's a tragedy we as consumers, we as fans tried to prevent, but it was ultimately out of our hands.
Well spoken, well said. I don't know if there's anything to add to that, honestly. Let's see. Our friend Gene G, thank you very much for your generous super chat. He says Disney is heavily in debt. Much of that debt is due within the next 5 years. After 5 years, the Fox debt is due. They keep issuing new corporate bonds. Disney will not be the entertainment juggernaut. I don't really know exactly their debt. I know Clownfish TV. I think they're stockholders and stuff like that. But if you're just doing everything off debt, Toys R Us, that's what happened to Toys R Us. People say it was expensive prices and this and that. It was like a leveraged buyout or something, Tom. That's why Toys R Us, they put a lot of corporate debt on Toys R Us and it killed it.
Yeah, that's what they're called. It's kind of where you buy up a company, or you don't buy it, but you run up the. I wish Rob was here because he knows how it actually works, and he's sleeping now probably. But you basically run up the debt in a company, and then you go bankrupt, and the shareholders and all this stuff it's a big stupid scam.
I mean, it would be fun. It'd be fun to jokingly say, "Oh, Disney's going to die," and then they die. But it would be really bizarre if Disney did fall victim to all their debt and stuff, and it just never materialized. Where they had all these plans, and it was just too much. They took on too much and collapsed. If that were to happen, I say Universal would become the next big. Well, not the next big one because they're already big, but with their theme park's going to integrate Nintendo characters, which I will willingly travel anywhere to go see Nintendo land shit. That sounds fun to me. I'd love to go to Japan to see the one over there. It'd be fucking crazy. And then you have the Mario movie and stuff like that. So if Disney does fall, I say Universal will take its place as the big one, the biggest one, and hopefully they'll do things differently. But it's a big if. Carl Page says, read Batman Cult. It's a really dark story. I own that book. I know the artist, not personally, but Bernie Wrightson, yeah, duh. Batman Cult, folks. If you haven't checked it out, that's a good one. I have read that back in the day when I graduated high school. I took all my money instead of having a party or doing anything. I bought comics, which was dumb, but I did it. Let's see. We also have our friend Deus Pigeon, who says showrunners aren't creative enough for episodic TV. Mecca, Tom, and Literature Devil, that seems like something you guys would know. Do you agree? The showrunners aren't creative enough?
Yeah, they're lacking in
Yeah,
creative.
these days, I think they either are lacking creativity, or if they were once creative, because I've seen this instance pop up where you have people who are good at writing, who were at least once good at writing, good at show running, who have like bought into these social justice nonsense and have lost all their talent. I don't know what happened. But yeah, it's basically they're not creative enough, and either that or they are just so toxic in the brain now that they have just killed off their imaginative part and just wanted to put politics first.
Well, that's the currency they deal in. The identity politics and stuff is the bigger stuff. Behind the scenes, people get hooked on that shit. That's what they want.
And not only that, yeah, they see things like that as a something they can tie a cause to instead of, using it for what it really is, and that is a popular thing that people enjoy and love, and will pay a lot of money to enjoy and love. But once they don't love it anymore, they're not going to pay any money for it.
No.
And Rob says a leverage buyout is a buy where they buy a company, inflate the stock value, issue a special dividend to the shareholders, lay off everybody, and then bankrupt the company. So, I mean, I guess with the current situation, it's possible for Disney to pull something like that, but they're too big of a company, I think, in the end. The thing is when you usually do a leverage buyout, it's for a company that's not doing that well to begin with.
Yeah, well, it'll be interesting to see if that would be the case. I'd laugh my ass off, but like you said, Disney is a very big company. Let's see. We also have Benito Martinez says, "Oh my God, when he breaks Bane's venom container, dude, when his eye bursts out of his head, like, it didn't blow up, but like Literature Devil, I know you've seen the episode where Bane fights Batman. He breaks it and he starts freaking out. Oh my God, that's scary. There was some scary show. That Clayface was kind of creepy at times. Let's see, Venom. I'm going to see if there's an image we'll leave that with people right now. Here we go. Perfect. Ooh, it's in high def too. Wow. There we go. By the way, folks, on the East Coast, happy April Fool's Day. We're not going to be posting anything for April Fools because of the weird climate. There's a lot of shit going on, so you're not going to see tweets like, we all died from coronavirus or some dumb shit like that. We're just going to kind of take April Fools off this year, and I'll be back tomorrow night with a regular live stream. So sorry to kill the fun, but
yeah, it just doesn't feel like the year to be having April Fools, really.
No. Like I said, I'm really not reserved. You know me. We've discussed a lot of shit off air, on air. Jokes are good for me, but I just don't. It doesn't feel right this year. Let's see. Comic books in cahoots. Thank you very much. He says, I saw Mask of the Phantasm in the theater on MDMA. It was great to be a teenager in the 90s. I saw Batman Dark Knight Rises in an altered state, and it wasn't alcohol. That was fun. But I've never done MDMA. So there we go. I'm sure you have a much different recollection of the film. I'd love to hear your stories. Especially when he was chasing, was it Saul? Not Saul Brodsky, that's the guy from Marvel. Saul whatever. Chucky Saul in the fucking graveyard. That would be kind of scary depending on your state of mind. TLJ Screwjob, thank you very much. He says, so is Rush Hour 3 like Octopussy and The Living Daylights? Well, thank you for asking the question again, TLJ Screwjob. Rush Hour 3 is a disappointment. It is more like Octopussy. I like The Living Daylights. I consider that the better of the Dalton ones. I'm probably in the minority, but I love it. I think it's a much bigger, epic film. Rush Hour 3, it goes back to L.A., it's Chris Tucker. It's just too late. It's what, 07? The first.
Yeah, it was like, what was it? Almost 10 years after the last one.
I think
not quite.
Yeah, it was like 6 years, but still, it's too late. It's like putting out. I'm trying to think of a good example because it's not long enough to where you miss the series, but it's also it's not quick enough to where it feels like a continuation.
Yeah, you're right. They should have waited a little bit longer. Should have got on it a little bit sooner. I wasn't even that big a fan of the second one. I didn't care for it as much.
I prefer the first one. I think the first Rush Hour is a really great film, classic. But yeah, I would much rather you guys, in my opinion, Lethal or TLJ Screwjob, if you're going to watch it, go in with lowered expectations. You'll laugh. The thyroid problem joke's really funny, but it feels really out of place. And Chris Tucker is still good, but Jackie Chan's so much better than he has any right to be in that movie. I don't know.
The problem is it feels like a part 3.
Yeah, that's a good.
You know what I mean? Like, it just has that stupid somebody kidnaps or kills somebody's friend, uncle, cousin, nephew, niece, and we got to get together and save them. That's it. It just has that feeling to it too much. It doesn't have the same thrill as the first film, and definitely not the second one either.
Yeah, I love the first one. I think it's great. But now, TLJ Screwjob. So I guess it's more like Octopussy, because it does follow For Your Eyes Only, which I consider one of the better Roger Moore flicks. So yeah, it's a decrease. I know some people in the chat are mad, but I don't like Rush Hour 3. Dion loves it. If you want somebody to praise the TLJ Screwjob, talk to Dion. That dude loves Rush Hour 3. He thinks it's
I
fun.
hate that ending that goes on and on forever when they're on that tarp too.
Yeah. Oh well. That's my answer, TLJ Screwjob. Thank
or
you.
whatever you call it, curtain or whatever it was.
Oh yeah, that big thing at the because I don't know, after the second one it felt so big going to Hong Kong.
Right.
And then you just kind of pull it back and it's just like, whatever. It's not like a Lethal Weapon movie where it's always in LA and it's always, not street cops, but regular, cops. That kind of stuff. So Modalicious says Carol Baskin killed her husband. Changed my mind. I'm not going to try to change your mind, Modalicious. That bitch Carol Baskin did it. And yes, on Jesse's channel and as well as here, we always refer to her as that bitch Carol Baskin because that's what Joe Exotic does. And if it's good enough for Joe Exotic, it's good enough for me. Except the Prince Alberts, the tattoos, the forced marriages, all the stuff. I'm nothing like Joe Exotic. I take that back. But in the chat, I dropped the link. We're going to be talking about Tiger King, Joe Exotic with Tom from Midnight's Edge After Dark over on Mindless Entertainment. It's going to be a fun show. And it's only just a couple minutes away. Darian217, thank you very much for your generous super chat. He says, if you can stomach the torture scene, you can see/hear Mark Hamill use the Joker voice in the film Sushi Girl, in case anyone's interested, to help kill time. 1 hour, 38 minutes film. Funny story, Darian217. I'm close friends with a guy who is close friends with either the director or the producer or the person who was involved with that film heavily, to the point where I've been given autographed stuff from Sushi Girl. Jesse and I got some chopsticks. We got T-shirts, something else. Basically, a copy of the movie and something else. An autographed copy of the movie. So we haven't watched it yet, but we do have that connection. And the guy I'm talking about, that's my friend, is pretty close with this dude. So maybe in 5 years when all this blows over, we'll call it Mark Hamill and we'll get an interview for the Fandom Menace. That'd be fun. If Disney's still around. If they're not, we'll definitely do it sooner. But Darian217, thank you very much. And Jesse and I will watch that since we want to hear the Joker voice at all times. And finally, 007 Cloud, thank you very much. He says, Dragon Ball sucks nowadays. Stick to Z. Dude, I do. I stick to Dragon Ball Z. I haven't even finished the Majin Buu saga. So for those out there that are big fans of Dragon Ball Z and you're thinking, oh, heresy, Jeff, you haven't finished it. I apologize. I just, I was in high school when it was, finishing its initial run on Toonami. And I just, didn't remember. Sorry, but I do like DBZ. I wouldn't mind putting money down for like a really nice deluxe box set in the future one day. So, folks, we have reached the end of the High Council. I have no clue what episode number this is, but I'd like to thank Literature Devil for joining us. Where can everyone find your comic, man?
Oh, my comic is Dr. Alpha Miracle Child on Indiegogo. Still in demand. And still waiting for people to back it. We're currently at 37,400, and at 40,000, every backer gets an extra story when the comic book comes out. So an extra short story as a stretch goal. So we're almost there.
Well, here, let me share this with the audience. The cover is fantastic. I know exactly what it's homaging. I dig it. So there you go, folks. Check this out, Literature Devil, right here. Boom on Indiegogo. Indiegogo is the place to go. I'm not gonna make a joke. Sorry. For all the comic book stuff that you want to get. So as the industry collapsed, definitely go over there. You can get some great quality stuff. Mecca, do you have anything that you would like to plug or mention or tell people to find you?
My channel, Mecha Random 42. I have been talking Star Trek quite a bit, and I got to do a video about this Gal Gadot, Joe Rogan stuff coming up. I kind of missed this one, so yeah, you guys sent me that over, and I'm like, yeah, that's hilarious. I got to make a video on that. So just all kinds of stuff. Creepy Little Book, I do that one at night, and Midnight's Edge After Dark, and here.
Tom.
You can find me on Midnight's Edge and Midnight's Edge After Dark.
Folks, I will be back later this week with more content. Since everyone seemed to love the card idea, I guess I will make that more of a top priority over some of the other things I would do in terms of YouTube, because YouTube's been kind of dumb right now. Ever since, I love how we all got that email when they're like, "Hey guys, there's going to be less people behind the scenes. It's going to be more automated," and then everything just took a shit. So I wouldn't be surprised if YouTube didn't survive the virus, if you will. But I'll be back for sure tomorrow night on Fandom Menace Tonight with Jeff Hicks. I'll be on the this is the High Council, excuse me. I'll be on the boardroom about 8 o'clock, maybe 8:30. I'll let you guys know. I'll tweet it out tomorrow night. And then I'll be on Jesse's stream tomorrow night and tonight in just a few moments. So I'd like to thank everyone here for joining us for the High Council. We had a great turnout this week. Literature Devil, was an honor to talk to you. Would love to have you back on in the future. And like I said, I'll be tweeting you or messaging you on Twitter to collaborate on a card or something, have some fun.
Awesome.
Shit about comics, man. While it's collapsing, I realize how much I really love comic books. So from all of us here in the Fandom Menace, thank you, good evening, and as always, folks, be excellent to each other.